Oh, thank you. Likewise. And त्यसैगरी हामीसँग अर्को youth representative आकांक्षा गुरुङजी पनि हुनुहुन्छ उहाँलाई पनि स्वागत छ.
Hey everyone, happy International Women's Day. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Sorry Gomaji मैले इन्टरप्ट गरे अघि हाम्रो फेसबुक लाइभ इन्टरप्ट भएछ बीचमा. I would like to request you to wrap up and start up again for the ones who are live joined with us through NRNA live Facebook please.
So हजुरले भन्नुभएको अनुसार अघिको लाइभ चाहिँ रेकर्ड भएको थिएन.
अघिको लाइभ इन्टरप्ट भएछ हजुर ब्रेकअप भएछ. If you can just start up from the chair that would be great.
हजुर हस् हुन्छ. यो आई थिङ्क अब हाम्रो यो टेक्निकल कुराले हामीलाई जसरी इन्टरनेटले जोइन गरिरहेको छ त्यसै गरी हामीलाई अहिले अलिकति छुटाउन पनि समय लाग्दैन. हजुर सबैजनालाई नमस्कार. अघि जसले छुटाउनु भयो यो प्राविधिक गडबडले गर्दा केही प्रब्लमहरू आएमा तपाईहरु सबैजना जहाँ पनि सरेर बसिराख्नु भएको छ. आजको अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय नारी दिवसको हाम्रो NRNA को यो इन्टरेक्सन प्रोग्राममा हजुर सबैलाई स्वागत छ. म गौमाया आज मोडरेटरको रूपमा उपस्थित भएकी छु र अघि मैले हाम्रो आजको की स्पिकर्सहरु आजको चीफ गेस्टहरु स्पेशल गेस्टहरुलाई इन्ट्रोड्युस गराएकी थिए. सायद तपाईहरुले अलिकति मिस गर्नुभयो होला. त्यसकारण पनि म एक्चुअली फेरि उहाँहरुको नाम भन्न चाहन्छु. I do apologize to our special guests, our chief guests and all the keynote speakers. I think I'll have to go through the names again just because our viewers on live on Facebook missed that because of certain technical difficulties. So I do apologize for that. So I'm just going to go through the names again. I hope you don't mind. We've got Mrs. Poonam Gurung, who is the president of NRNA UK.
Yes, namaste everybody. Thank you, Boini. I think we should do one.
Okay, perfect. So I'll do that. I hope that's okay. So thank you for giving me that permission. So we've got our chief guest, Mrs. Roshan Khanal, who is a DCM from Nepali Embassy London. I'd like to request सबैजनालाई जो चाहिँ बोलिराख्नु भएको छैन तपाईहरुको चाहिँ म्युटमा राखिदिनु होला. हाम्रो कार्यक्रम अलिकति सरल ढंगमा लानको लागि प्लिज म्युटमा बसिदिनु होला है. हजुर धन्यवाद. हाम्रो चिफ गेस्टमा हुनुहुन्छ मैले भनिरहेको थिएँ मिसेस रोशन खनाल जी जो DCM फ्रम नेपाली एम्बेसी UK बाट. त्यसैगरी मिस मारिया मिलर र लेडी बटरवर्थ फ्रम प्रेसिडेन्ट अफ वुमेन काउन्सिल उहाँहरु हाम्रो चिफ गेस्ट हुनुहुन्छ. र आजको हाम्रो कीनोट स्पिकर तपाईले पोस्टरमा पनि देख्नु भयो होला. मिस कमला बासी, मिस भारती सिलवाल गिरी, मिस मनुषी यामी भट्टराई र मिस मन्जु गुरुङ र उहाँहरुलाई साथ दिनको लागि हाम्रो युथ रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ्स चेल्सी आकांक्षा र रूपसमा हुनुहुन्छ. अब भने म हाम्रो वेलकम स्पीच लान चाहन्छु तपाईहरुलाई. सो आजको अघि हाम्रो प्रसन्ना कनेलजी हुनुहुन्थ्यो. उहाँ हाम्रो वुमेन कोअर्डिनेटर हुनुहुन्छ NRNA UK को. उहाँहरुलाई केही शब्द राखिदिनु म अनुरोध गर्दछु. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Gomaya, and namaste and warm welcome to you all. This pandemic didn't let our spirit die, and here we are today, connected globally, despite all the challenges, to celebrate our achievements and force positive change for all the women throughout the world. Namaskar and good morning to you all. President of NRNA UK, Mrs. Poonam Gurung, Chief Guest, Mrs. Roshan Khanal, Councillor, DCM and Spokesperson of Embassy of Nepal, Special Guest, Honorable Mrs. Maria Miller, Special Guest, President of the Women Council, Doris Lady Butterworth. Our speakers of today's program, feminist activist, poet and social scientist all the way from India, Mrs. Kamala Basidi, General Equality and Social Inclusion expert, Mrs. Bharati Silwalgiri, founder and strategic advisor of Horaki Nepal, Mrs. Manju Gurung, political activist for gender equality, Miss Mansi Yami Bhatrai, and along with our aspiring youth representatives, Ms. Rusma Raut, Ms. Chelsea Gurung, and Ms. Akanksha Gurung, ICC members, NRNA patrons and advisors, previous women coordinators, NRNA committee members, various organization representatives, individuals, media, all participants who are connected to us through Zoom, and those who are watching us live through NRNA Facebook page. I am so honored and privileged in welcoming you all at this International Women's Day program organized by NRNA UK. Thank you for being here at this auspicious moment in celebrating womanhood, inspiring your young girls and women, and motivating all those women who feel disadvantaged to speak up for their basic human rights. The seed of International Women's Day was planted in 1908 when 15,000 women marched through New York City demanding shorter working hours for better pay and for the right to vote. And today, at this Winter International Women's Day, it has become a day to celebrate how far women have come in the society, in politics and in economics. With COVID-19, women has learned even more to be resilient and to deal with uncertainty and to accept all the challenges. So today, let us motivate, inspire, and encourage women and young girls to represent in all their diversity and abilities. Before I wrap up, I would like to remember all those wonderful women who lost their life during this pandemic. And without forgetting, I would also like to welcome all men who play important role towards women's growth and development in the role of father, brother, husband, partner, and as a friend. गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ NRNA UK ले आयोजना गरेको यस भर्चुअल अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय महिला दिवस विशेष समारोहमा उपस्थित हुनुहुने सम्पूर्ण महानुभावहरुमा हार्दिक स्वागत तथा अभिवादन गर्न चाहन्छु। लैंगिक समानतालाई आत्मसात गर्दै सबै प्रकारको हिंसाको अन्त्य र महिला सशक्तिकरणमा प्रेरित गर्नेछ भन्ने हेतुले यस कार्यक्रम आयोजना गरिएको छ। अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय महिला दिवसको अवसरमा नेपालमा सहित विदेशमा रहनुभएका सम्पूर्ण महिला दिदीबहिनीहरूलाई फेरि पनि म महिला कोअर्डिनेटर NRNA UK की महिला संयोजक प्रसन्ना कडेल यहाँलाई हार्दिक स्वागत तथा अभिवादन गर्न चाहन्छु। यति भन्दै गर्दा म भन्दा यहाँ पूर्व महिला कोअर्डिनेटरहरू संगीता मरठा, सुशीला राई, लीला देवी गुरुङ, बबिता लामा, उहाँहरूको योगदान पनि सराहनीय छ, उहाँलाई पनि सम्झन चाहन्छु। Once again, thank you and warm welcome to you all. Happy Women's Day to you all.
हजुर धन्यवाद। उहाँ हुनुहुन्थ्यो प्रसन्ना करेलजी, हाम्रो वुमेन्स कोअर्डिनेटर। र उहाँले भनेको जस्तै यो एउटा ब्याटन पास गरेको जस्तो हो। उहाँले अगाडिको हाम्रो पूर्व वुमेन कोअर्डिनेटरहरूको पनि नाम लिनुभयो र उहाँ सबैजनाको योगदानको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। र हाम्रो प्रसन्नाजीले भने चाहिँ आज हाम्रो फिमेल मात्र नभएर हाम्रो मेल काउन्टर पार्ट्सहरूको पनि आज एकदमै राम्रो इन्भल्भमेन्ट पार्टिसिपेसन देख्दा एकदमै खुसी लागेको छ। अब भने हामी अघि प्रसन्नाले भनेको जस्तै इकोनोमिक्स, पोलिटिक्स इन्भल्भमेन्ट नभइकन कुनै पनि परिवर्तन यो हाम्रो जेन्डर इक्वालिटीको कुराहरू आउँदैन। त्यही भएर we are very very lucky to have women who are heavily and actively involved in politics as well. So we've got our special guest, Miss Maria Miller, who is the Honourable MP for Basingstoke, and I would like to request her to share a few of her words today.
Thank you very much, and can I thank everybody in the Non-Resident Nepali Association in the UK for inviting me to speak today and to be alongside such an illustrious panel of speakers to celebrate International Women's Day. This is one of a series of events that are happening across the country today, so I hope you can accept my apologies that I'll have to not join you for all of your events, but I will stay for as long as I can to listen to the wise words of the panelists that you've drawn together. And International Women's Day is a huge celebration, and this year, like most others, has been a year of celebration. We've seen the first ever female Vice President of the United States of America, a huge step forward and shattering a glass ceiling, which has been there forever in politics. We've also seen women exceed in healthcare and caring for others, as well as being some of the leading scientists looking for the solutions to the pandemic that we faced. But this has also been a year of challenge for many women across the country, having to juggle work, homeschooling children, as well as being involved in providing frontline healthcare. And as we move forward, as the pandemic it becomes a thing of the past, we hope, we need women to be at the heart of this recovery. So my focus this year, choosing to challenge, is that I'm choosing to challenge the number of women that we have in public positions in our communities. And I'm holding an event here in my own constituency in Basingstoke tomorrow, which I think some people on this call may well be joining, to encourage more women to get involved in becoming school governors, to become involved in standing for election for parish councils, for borough councils, for county councils. And indeed, I would like to encourage more women to stand for election to our UK Parliament. Because when I was elected to represent Basingstoke, I was the first woman to ever hold the position. And I remain the only woman to have been elected in North Hampshire, although we have many other women in elected parliamentary positions throughout the rest of Hampshire. And we need to make sure that when we have people stand for election, they represent all of our community. So I hope in this event today, you can inspire women from across your association to consider putting themselves forward for election. There's always lots of support there for people to do that. And we need women from our Nepali community involved in making decisions about the future way our community services are provided. And I hope that in this year, on International Women's Day, as you highlight the need to challenge the status quo, that you inspire even more women to put themselves forward for the sorts of leadership positions that can help shape our community for the future. So yet again, can I thank you for inviting me to be part of this event today. And it's inspiring to see so many women involved and men involved in supporting International Women's Day. And I wish you a happy International Women's Day and a very successful event.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miller. And, after hearing this, I'm sure, you will not be the only one in Hampshire area, especially, the area that's, heavily, there's a quite a big Nepali community in Basingstoke, and our president, Poonamji, often, highly speaks about you and your involvement with trying to integrate with the Nepali community. So thank you so much. We really appreciate, that you have a lot of other events to possibly attend as well. So we completely understand, but thank you so much for being here with us. We'd like to now move on to our next special guest, but I'd also like to highlight, as Ms. Miller said, we do need participation of women in leadership role, and I think the very fact that we have our first female president for NRNA UK is a good example, and how the women have come together to make this event and several other events possible. So thank you so much, Ms. Miller. So I'd like to move on to another special guest, Lady Butterworth, who is the president of the Women Council London.
Well, Madam President, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm particularly pleased to be part of the Nepalese Society. I've never been to Nepal, but it's very high up on my wish list. And I know you have this wonderful roadway which you built, haven't you, right the length of your country. And you can go up into the mountains, and the temples, which are very beautiful, are cantilevered over the valley with fantastic views. So as well as everything else, I would very much like to visit your country. But my link at the moment with it is through the Women's Council. And the Women's Council believes in sponsoring students to go for 3 months in different years from different countries to learn how to teach and how to take care of handicapped people. That's a big jump from normal education to specialist education. And last year, 2020, there were 3 students from Nepal. I have their names here. I don't know whether you'd like to hear them, but the 3 of them came. One of them, Sushila herself, is handicapped and has cerebral palsy and came, of course, in her wheelchair. But she spoke very glowingly about the whole course. And the Women's Council here in London is based on the international friendship, of course, which the course does for all these young people, and also to sponsor the students coming from each country. Last year, there were students from, this year, Mongolia, India, of course, Mongolia, India, and Rajasthan was the last one, Rajasthan. So that each of these people went back to their own countries with not only knowledge of how to teach children and look after children, they learned how to mix and to meet with other people. And this is a knock-on effect. Could I just say that we are hoping, we are continuing with this support, and we wish to extend it even more to Nepalese students. And we are committed to financial support and the educational support. Looking to the future, I'm sure that this will flourish. And as you are all here representing different women's organizations, I am honored and delighted to represent the Women's Council. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Lady Baswell. I think that was beautiful about, not just reaching out to the able, but, handicapped students, and to actually empower them by not just teaching them, but actually teaching them to teach. So thank you so much. And, you are very much welcome. I'm sure all of Nepalese here would be happy to show you around in Nepal. I'm sure Shushila would feel the same way, and her friends. You can actually, see the Mount Everest on the same day and see the mountains and the temples as well, on because of how the tourism is escalating and
Yes.
flourishing. So once I think the coronavirus settles, please do come. Please, you're very welcome. So we are going to move on to the youth representatives now. So we first have Chelsea Gurung, and I read an article from Chelsea, which was based on racism during the pandemic period. So we're very pleased to have you today, Chelsea. So I'll like to introduce Chelsea and give the floor to you.
Namaste and welcome, Ms. President of NRNA UK, Chief Guest, Special Guest, and respected speakers, and our Honourable MP, Maria. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Warm Women's Day and thank everyone for tuning in on this year's event. Although we're not face-to-face, doing it over online is just as efficient. And I hope everyone is keeping well during these hard times and keeping their morales up. Women's Day has always held a special place with me, and it is a joy to celebrate the occasion, as it is the remarking of how successful women have been over the centuries. I believe it is also important that the youth are also able to express and share their views on Women's Day. I want to be able to share with everyone else my contradictory, a woman, and raise awareness on the following topics as I speak. I'll start off with education. Worldwide, 130 million children aged 10 to 18 have never been to school. The reasons are varied, due to poverty, child marriage, or gender bias opinions. Immediate action against this must be took. Everything I'm covering is all under this year's Women's Day theme, Choose to Challenge. We can choose to challenge the inequality being placed upon these inexperienced young girls. Education is not a topic to be taken lightly. It is to be taken with consequence and action. Every child should be given a right to go to school, eliminating gender stereotypes. Without education, how will they be able to have a dream, a set goal? Without a target or goal, how will they learn to grow and push themselves? And how will they know what they are truly capable of? At a young age, I would always dream of an unimaginable future and how I could change the world for a better. And I have found my goal. It is to raise awareness and stand up and be the voice for the millions of young girls who are unable to reach out. My heart will forever stand with them. From raising awareness to donations, I will try and play my part to these girls as much as I can, as no child should be having to go through this cruelty. It disappoints me, as a young girl myself receiving free education, that these girls have to spend their lifetime being forced into child marriage and working simply due to gender injustice. These girls are being pushed and placed around like objects. Stripping education of young girls is something no child should ever have to experience. There are many ways you can support this cause. From petitions to donating to funds, you can find many ways to support, and together we can all make a change and challenge injustice. I will now be going on to a law that is currently being looked over in Nepal, which states that women under 40 must take approval from family and government that they are traveling abroad. This law is currently in process of being placed to ensure safety and protection against trafficking. Firstly, women are not the only gender who are having to deal with trafficking. It happens to men too. Are they really looking to protect us, or are they really taking control over us? It is clear that they are underestimating us and believe that we are not as capable of protecting ourselves. It is not us that needs changing, but it's society itself. 18 transgender women were brutally harassed and beat by our own police. These forces are people who are supposed to protect us. This is unacceptable, and these officers must be held accountable, no excuses. I do not see any reason to defend them. They are not serving our nation, but tarnishing the name of our nation. Article 13 of the Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. These are basic human rights that I myself am ashamed that I have to point and explain these out. Limiting our movement, stripping away our rights. What does this come to? We must put an end to this at once. The women of our country have protested. They have made noise and we have heard their cries. So why are we not taking action? It's not okay that oppression against a basic human right is under judgment. This is tarnishing and destroying the reputation of equality and democracy. The people and citizens ourselves, we can choose to challenge the misperceptions and make an end to gender bias and inequality. And together, we will achieve the mission of becoming an inclusive world. Our time is now. There is no tomorrow or later. We must act now. Make this year's Women's Day like no others. Make this a one-of-a-kind moment in history. I request you all to choose the challenge, and we will be successful in eliminating the cruel injustice. And in the end, democracy will be the finishing piece to our puzzle. Again, I wish everyone a very warm Women's Day, and thank you NRNA UK for organising this event. And I look forward to listening to the following speakers next.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. And as you put out there, there's a lot of issues we'll be covering, and we really hope that we can dismantle whether it was the law that was passed recently for women, we will be dismantling them with our key speakers. So thank you so much. That was really thought-provoking. So next up, we've got another youth with us. We've got Miss Rupsma Rao Chhetri, so we'll pass it on to her.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. Honorable Chairperson, respected Chief Guest, all the keynote speakers, and all the distinguished guests. When we are discussing about challenges for youth girls and women in Nepal, let me take you to an incident few years. 21st September 2014, Radhika Sharma scored 90% in her SLC board examination. Her dream was to be the judge of Supreme Court. She had always wanted to establish the crime-free society and ensure no person in any corner of the country would suffer because of the crime. But as soon as her family was introduced to her motive to fight against crime and criminals, they believed it would be completely dangerous for her if she's allowed to study further. And they ended up tying her in a marriage bond with a guy 10 years older who she never met before. Her dreams, aspiration, mission to punish criminals and provide justice to innocents all shattered in seconds just because of Sikh mentality of society. This was just a single mirror reflection of suppressed girls and women who are willing to bring changes in society. But there are so many untold and unheard stories of those girls who want to be changed in today's male-dominated society, which are in fact hundreds and thousand times more cruel than this one. Well, in today's modern age of 21st century, it has become very easier for girls to raise their voice for their rights. But unfortunately, in countries such as Nepal, still there are thousands of boundaries, restrictions, and challenges acting as the handcuffs for those girls who want to stand in their own feet, and it is prohibiting them into a very high level. We live in such a society where girls are expected to be under protection, whose genuine meaning would be to be dependent to their father before marriage, to their husband after their marriage, and maybe to their son at the age of maybe 50s or 60s. And the woman who tries to break these so-called norms are tagged as immoral. It's so sad for us to recall the beautiful power of women has today become our biggest weakness. Well, Center for Data Research in Health Provinces, it proves that strength and emotion and compassion woman is much more higher, by which her tolerance power has risen up. But today, that very tolerant strength of women has been used to bear the harassment and violence with a smile in her face. And sadly, the condition in rural areas is even worse. At her childhood, she is deprived of education, disgusted by the family for being a girl child, deprived by so many of her rights, and asked to stay quiet and limit herself to the boundary of house, and has to get prevented from those extra evil eyes. But during the menstruation, which is actually the celebration of womanhood, she is literally made to experience the hell by the cruel ritual and restriction. At the time of her marriage, the pressure of dowry and when not being able to provide the dowry, the everyday of domestic violence is supplement. The pressure to give a boy child to the family, to serve family, husband, in-laws, and tolerate violence, the list goes on and on and on. Reflecting this very situation, what an exhilarating line poet Vishnu Kumari Vaiba had said. जसरी तिमी दाइजोको लावास्कारसँग घुम्टो भित्राई लुकाई पशुलाई जस्तै भित्राउने गर्छौ, त्यसैले तिमी यति विमुख नहौ, यति बैगुनी नहौ, यति निर्दयी नबन. तिमी मेरा पीडा बुझ्न सक्दैनौ, तर म तिम्रो उत्पीडा बुझ्न सक्छौ. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when I present so many restrictions for girls in remote areas, it does not mean girls in the cities are free from these handcuffs. If family support, there is society to question. If the girls has potentiality to overcome the questions of society to achieve her goal, there are those evil eyes risking to her for 24/7. Risk of acid attacks, risk of getting raped, being bullied, being harassed inside home, outside home, from stranger, from a family member. Honestly, the challenges goes on and on. Isn't it shameful for us to know that Malala Yousafzai, the little girl from Pakistan, got 3 bullets shotted right onto her head just because she demanded education? Being the girl, the confrontations for women trying to establish themselves in the society is endless. But does that mean we ought to let ourselves behind the bars, and just because we are frightened of the challenges, they are so vast to be tackled? Of course not. If the little girl would have got scared and not demanded her right after that very gunshot, today the world would not have got our hero, the Malala Yousafzai. If Chamak Gimere would not have dared to hold her pen by getting scared by those challenges she had to face, then it would be impossible for her to be such a great poet and win the Madan Purashkar. Being a victim or a victor is completely our choice. So this Women's Day, let's choose to be a victor. Just one step we ought to take is to face the challenges. Let's educate ourselves, gather the courage, and bounce back. Let's focus on powerful learning and empower ourselves, the nation, and the world. If there is potentiality, then let's build it. Because remember, we all have that hidden Adi Shakti in ourselves who can kill the evilness, remove the darkness by your divine glory, and let's commit to overcome all the challenges, strengthen and train ourselves to fight back to the storm on the path, because we have the potentiality to reach the greatest height ever and be the greatest global leader and lead the world. And like it is said, हातको जन्जिर तोडी ढोकाको बोटे ताल्चा फोडी अब उठ्नु छ नारी, हटाउनु छ यो संसारको विभिन्न कर्महरू जुन जसले गर्दा हामीलाई बाँधिएको छ र बन्नु छ असल जिम्मेवार नारी. So thank you so much. Wishing all the beautiful soul a very happy Women's Day. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Risma. I think that was so powerful, and I didn't expect that at all. I was like, whoa, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And as you said, your dowry ko kura huncha, hamro संविधानमा यति राम्रो नीतिहरू छ, कुराहरू लेखिएको छ, तर practicality मा चाहिँ, as you said, हाम्रो गाउँ-घरमा मात्र नभएर, सहरमा मात्र नभएर, globally, not just in Nepal, not just in Southeast Asia, but or South Asia, just globally नै यो चाहिँ, I think हाम्रो Kamala Basidi ma'am had often said that it's the biggest war, the number of girl childs that are actually killed before birth or after birth, and all the challenges. So I can't wait to uncover all these conversations. So next up we've got another youth representative. We've got Miss Akanksha Gurung, and I think I would also like to add that she ran for the official UK Labour Party candidate in 2019's local election, and that in itself I think says it all. So over to you, Akanksha.
Namaste, Sapelai. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you, Madam Moderator. You are doing an amazing job handling such a big task. And thank you to all the keynote speakers that have gone before me. And thank you, Poonam Aunty and NRNA UK for making this wonderful event. It's so lovely to be part of a community that really does value women's rights, especially with all the patriarchal challenges we still continue to face in Nepal and outside of Nepal. Unfortunately, I'm going to start off my speech with a bit of great news, saying that in its 2020 Global Gender Gap Report, the World Economic Forum concluded that neither we nor our children will see gender equality in our lifetimes. And as MP Maria Miller sort of touched upon, the coronavirus pandemic's actually worsened the situation. And there are several ways it's done that for women especially. So I'm just going to highlight some key points. So women are more likely to work in healthcare and care services. So there is a higher risk of them being exposed to the virus, but we know rise in salary. Closed schools and daycares means that women are forced to take on more caring responsibilities. So not only do they have to look after their children while in lockdown, but they are still expected to work from home. And at a time when we're all asked to stay at home to protect ourselves and everyone else from the virus, home is not always a safe space for everyone, especially for women. We have seen women's shelters actually reporting a rise in demand for rooms because a lot of women are having to escape their homes because of domestic abuse. And outside of the problems that women are facing because of the pandemic, and there are a host, these are just some of the ones that I named, there's still many political issues. And as a young woman studying and working in politics, this is particularly important to me. And again, MP Maria, I feel like I'm just kind of expanding on your points, as you said, this is really important. So a report by WEF found that over the past 50 years, 85 out of 153 countries have never seen a woman as a head of state. And in fact, closing the gender gap in political representation will take nearly 100 years. So we will never see in our lifetimes a close in the gender gap in political representation. And this is crazy because political representation, it's in its name, it's meant to represent the people. And yeah, it's not representing half the world's population. And I bring these two main points across because they're actually very well connected. So on the one hand, we have the coronavirus negatively affecting women more. And then on the other hand, we also have a serious gender gap in politics. And they're connected because a lack of women in politics means that when something like a lockdown happens, when a crisis like the pandemic happens, the policies that happen in place don't regard or think about how women will be affected, because the policies and rules are being made by men and men only. They have no women voices, they have no women's minds contributing to these policies because of this huge gender gap in political representation. And actually, when we talk about handling the coronavirus pandemic, we have seen that actually women leaders have handled it a lot better compared to their male counterparts. And actually, this is a theme, if you look in sort of the history of politics, actually in a lot of times of crisis, it is actually women in politics and women leaders who are able to handle crises and situations much better. So we've seen in this pandemic, this past year, New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen, and Finland's Prime Minister Sanna Marin, just naming a few. Women leaders all over the world, so from Asia, from New Zealand, from Europe, have managed to keep their countries and citizens much safer from the virus. And this is key because this is saving so many lives because of their strong leadership and policies. And it is my hope that one day that the world continues to witness the merits of having women leadership, not just in politics, but of course, all across the sectors of society. And so that's why it's, you know, such a joy to see Poonam Aunty leading us as the first president, as the first female president of NRNA UK, because that woman leader will one day inspire a girl, maybe Chelsea, who will grow up to be just as successful and strong. And yeah, I think that would be my key message, is that taking away from the lessons of the pandemic and seeing how women leadership can actually really benefit society and can not only inspire people, but also save lives in times of crises. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akansha. Again, you know, another thought-provoking words there, and I agree with you. I think it circulated around a lot how women leaders, you know, handle the pandemic, and it may not just be the fact that they were women, but you know, the compassion or you know, all the elements that comes along with it. And we often, I think, all of the key speakers have actually in their past interviews mentioned that patriarchy is not a fight against men, but it's actually for all of us, for the balance, you know, society we want to look ahead. And hopefully, you know, we do see that equality in our lifetime. Hopefully that happens. So moving on, we would like to go to our key speakers now. So our key speakers I'd like to address first is Ms. Manju Gurung, who is the founder of Poroki Nepal. र Poroki नेपालको मैले पहिला इन्टरभ्यू हेर्दाखेरि साझा नेपालमा हेरेको थिएँ, भर्खरै ऐनामा पनि आउनु भएको थियो र उहाँहरूले चाहिँ एकदमै हाम्रो महिला दिदीबहिनीहरू जो चाहिँ फसिनु भएको छ, चाहे उहाँहरूको परिवारबाट होस्, चाहे हाम्रो राज्यले होस्, त्यो फसिएको दिदीबहिनीहरूलाई उहाँले रेस्क्यु गरेर रिहेबिलिटेसन ट्रेनिङमा एकदमै राम्रो कामहरू गरिराख्नु भएको छ। त्यसको लागि फेरि उहाँ पनि एउटा उदाहरणीय पात्र हुनुभएकोमा धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। मलाई उहाँलाई अलिकति सोध्न मन लागेको चाहिँ अघि चेल्सीले पनि कुरा गरेको थियो, यो हाम्रो अर्थतन्त्र नै रेमिटेन्सले धानेको देश हो हामी, हैन? तर यो जहिले पनि ट्राफिकिङको या सुरक्षाको कुराहरू निकालेर हरेक केही वर्षमा यो ब्यान, यो रेस्ट्रिक्सन्सहरू ल्याइरहेको छ हाम्रो गभर्नमेन्टले, हैन? तर यो चाहिने त प्रोटेक्सन चाहिने त हाम्रो दाजुभाइहरूलाई पनि होला, उहाँहरू पनि त पीडितहरू हुनुहुन्छ। यो खालको ब्यानहरू चाहिँ किन आइरहेको छ र यो दाजुभाइहरूलाई पनि चाहिनु पर्ने होला नि, हैन? तपाईलाई के लाग्छ यो विचार, यो हाम्रो परोकी नेपालले चाहिँ यसलाई कसरी लिएको छ, के भनिदिनुहुन्छ कि मन्जुजी?
सर्वप्रथम त यो समयको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। आजको यस 111औं अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय श्रमिक महिला दिवस को उपलक्ष्यमा आयोजना गरेको यस कार्यक्रमका सभाध्यक्षज्यू, प्रमुख अतिथिज्यू, कीनोट स्पिकर्सहरू, विशिष्ट अतिथिज्यूहरू र सम्पूर्णमा अभिवादन गर्न चाहन्छु। मैले आदर गर्नुपर्ने सम्पूर्ण मैले देखिरहेको छु यहाँ सबैजना मेरो अग्रजहरू हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ अभिवादन गर्न चाहन्छु। यो आजको यो अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय थीम अथवा अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय नारा नै वुमेन्स इन लिडरशिप अचिभिङ एन इक्वल फ्युचर इन द कोभिड-19 वर्ल्ड भनेर भनिएको छ र नेपालको राष्ट्रिय नारा चाहिँ महिलाको सुरक्षा, सम्मान र रोजगार, समृद्ध नेपालको आधार भनेर भनिएको छ। र यस सन्दर्भमा चाहिँ म सबैभन्दा पहिला आफ्नो कुरा कसरी सुरुवात गर्न चाहन्छु भने वैदेशिक रोजगारको क्रममा दिवंगत भएका तमाम आप्रवासी कामदारहरू, तिनका र जो चाहिँ मानसिक रूपले सन्तुलन गुमाएर फर्केकाहरू, अङ्गभङ्ग तथा अपाङ्ग भएर फर्केका ती कामदारहरूलाई समर्पण गर्न चाहन्छु यो कार्यक्रम। र यो आज यो एकदमै सान्दर्भिक किन छ भने यो अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय श्रमिक दिवसको पृष्ठभूमि कै कुरा गर्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ समान कामको लागि समान ज्यालाबाट सुरुवात गरिएको अभियानबाट सुरुवात गरिएकै कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यो अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय महिला दिवस मनाउने क्रम यसको पृष्ठभूमि अथवा यसको इतिहास त्यो छ। र अघि यहाँले भन्नुभयो वैदेशिक रोजगारबाट पौरखी नेपालको पृष्ठभूमि अथवा परिचय दिनु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ वैदेशिक रोजगारबाट फर्केर आएका कामदारहरूद्वारा स्थापित महिलाहरूले खोलेको महिलाहरूकै लागि हो। हुन त अघि तपाईले भनिसक्नु भएको छ कि पुरुष दाजुभाइहरू पनि वैदेशिक रोजगारको क्रममा समस्यामा परेका छन्, हिंसामा परेका छन्। तर नेपालको पृष्ठभूमि मात्र नभइकन विश्वमा नै कस्तो रहेछ भने महिला र पुरुषलाई हेर्ने जुन चाहिँ दृष्टिकोण छ, प्याट्रियार्कल माइन्डसेट छ नि, महिला भन्नासाथ महिला बिचरी हो र उसलाई संरक्षण चाहिन्छ भन्ने जुन चाहिँ महिलालाई हेर्ने दृष्टिकोणको कारणले गर्दाखेरि तपाईले भनेको कुरासँग म पृष्ठभूमि के जोड्न चाहन्छु भने हामी समग्र वैदेशिक रोजगारको क्रम चक्रमा काम गर्छौँ। जानुभन्दा पहिला गएर वैदेशिक रोजगारको क्रममा समस्यामा परेकालाई रेस्क्यु, रिपाट्रिएसन, रिहेबिलिटेसन, रिइन्टिग्रेसन गर्ने कामहरू पौरखी नेपालले गरिरहेको छ। र त्यस्तै गरेर वैदेशिक रोजगार भन्नासाथ ठगी भन्ने शब्द पनि सँगसँगै आउँछ। सो माइग्रेन्ट वर्कर्स एन्ड देयर फ्यामिली मेम्बर्सलाई एक्सेस टु जस्टिसमा हैन कामदारलाई न्यायमा पहुँच दिलाउनको लागि पनि हामीले लिगल सपोर्ट गरिरहेको छ। त्यस्तै गरेर रिइन्टिग्रेसनमा काम गरेको छ र सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण काम चाहिँ अहिले हामीले इमर्जेन्सी सेल्टर होम रन गरेको छ। यो अहिले पेन्डेमिकको पिरियडमा पनि वी सर्भ more than 161 women migrant worker. The majority of them were returned from GCC country and especially from Kuwait. And out of them, 6 women were pregnant and 4 women came with children. तर यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ जब जब महिलाको कुरा गर्छौं महिलाको यौनिकतासँग जोड्ने कुरा छ के महिला वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जानासाथ चाहिँ अब यौन हिंसामा पर्छ र यौनिकता र महिलासँग चाहिँ जोडिने एउटा हाम्रो जुन चाहिँ प्याट्रियार्कल माइन्डसेट छ त्यसको कारणले गर्दाखेरि अघि तपाईले भन्नुभएको ब्यान र एज बार महिलालाई हाम्रो नेपाली महिलाको वैदेशिक रोजगारको संलग्नता भनेको गृह श्रमिकको रूपमा अथवा घरेलु कामदारकै रूपमा गल्फ कन्ट्री लगायत मिडल इस्ट र अन्य मुलुकहरुमा जानुहुन्छ र उहाँहरुले आफ्नो श्रम पनि त्यसरी नै बेच्नुहुन्छ र उहाँहरुको त्यो त्यस्तो डिस्पाइट ह्याभिङ अल द ब्यान्स एन्ड एज बार women are migrating through India or Sri Lanka. हैन हामीले कति महिलाहरुलाई त्यसरी रेस्क्यु रिपाट्रिएसन पनि गरेका छौं जो चाहिँ अलपत्रमा परेकाहरुलाई यसरी जाँदाखेरि महिलाहरुलाई चाहिँ यो ब्यानको कारणले गर्दाखेरि महिलाहरु चाहिँ यो कन्सिक्वेन्सेस के भयो भने उनीहरु चाहिँ जोखिमपूर्ण अवस्थामा चाहिँ ट्राफिकिङ लाइक सिचुएसन र अनसेफ माइग्रेसन र स्मग्लिङको रूपमा चाहिँ उहाँहरु जानुपर्ने बाध्यात्मक अवस्था छ। यो अवस्थाले क्रिएट गरेकै कारणले यो अवस्थाको कारणले गर्दाखेरि महिलाहरु समस्यामा परेको छ हैन। अनि यसरी समस्यामा परेको महिलालाई महिलाको कारणले गर्दा अहिले भर्खरै यहाँहरुले एकदमै जल्दो बल्दो रूपमा हल्ला विभिन्न मिडिया मार्फत हल्ला पनि सुन्नुभयो होला। यो अध्यागमन विभागले महिलाहरु 40 वर्ष पुगेपछि 40 वर्ष मुनिका महिलाहरुलाई चाहिँ अभिभावकको स्वीकृति चाहिने र उहाँले चाहिँ स्थानीय सरकारको अनुमति लिएर मात्र जान पाउने जुन चाहिँ प्रावधान अथवा जुन चाहिँ प्रपोजल पेश गरेको थियो त्यसको चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ एकदमै घोर विरोध गर्यौं र सडकदेखि हामीले ज्ञापन पत्रहरु दियौं। यसको पछाडी के छ भने महिला भनेको चाहिँ एउटा महिलालाई हेर्ने कोमोडिफिकेसनको एउटा जुन चाहिँ छ नि महिला भनेको वस्तु हो र वस्तुलाई चाहिँ संरक्षण गर्नुपर्छ सुरक्षित गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने त्यो विचारधाराबाट गाइडेड भएर आएको कन्सिक्वेन्सेसहरु हो यो रिजल्ट हो के यो कुराहरु चाहिँ। सो हामीले अझै पनि वी नीड टु डिग आउट the root cause, push and pull factors of migration. किन महिला वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जान्छ को जान्छन् भन्दाखेरि त्यो महिला जो चाहिँ राष्ट्रिय मूलधारमा नपरेका जनजाति दलित भौगोलिक रूपले पनि एकदम नै विकटमा परेका र जो उहाँहरुलाई चाहिँ शिक्षाको पहुँच नभएको सूचनाको पहुँच नभएको अनि नेपाल भित्रै पनि घरेलु हिंसामा परेका राजनीतिक सामाजिक सांस्कृतिक र प्रथाजन्य हिंसामा परेका र अघि पूर्ववक्ता हाम्रा के रे यङ जेनेरेसन्सहरुले पनि भनिसक्नु भयो कि चाइल्ड म्यारेजको कारणले पनि पुश फ्याक्टर वान अफ द पुश फ्याक्टर भनेको चाइल्ड म्यारेज पनि रहेछ के वैदेशिक रोजगारमा चाहिँ 13 वर्षमा बिहा भयो, 20 वर्षमा उसले 4-5वटा सन्तान जन्मायो र श्रीमानले अर्को विवाह गर्यो र त्यसपछि चाहिँ ऊ चाहिँ बाध्यात्मक अवस्थामा उसको पारिवारिक जिम्मेवारी, बच्चाको जिम्मेवारी चाहिँ उसलाई हुन्छ र डिस्पाइट ह्याभिङ अल द बर्डन, यो जोखिमहरू छ नि, यो जोखिमलाई चिरेर पनि उसलाई थाहा छ मेरो वैदेशिक रोजगार असुरक्षित हुन सक्छ भन्दा भन्दै पनि उसले आफ्नो बच्चाको रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी वहन गर्नको लागि चाहिँ ती महिलाहरू बाध्यात्मक अवस्थामा वैदेशिक रोजगारमा गएको छ। हाम्रो के अरे पौरखी नेपालको मूल मर्म भनेको, मूल हामीले के भन्छौँ भने वैदेशिक रोजगार भनेको चाहिँ इन्फर्म चोइस हुनुपर्छ हैन। वी डोन्ट इन्करेज पिपल टु माइग्रेट नर वी डिस्करेज पिपल टु माइग्रेट। द माइग्रेसन शुड बी इन्फर्म चोइस। यो चाहिँ एउटा व्यक्तिको स्वतन्त्रपूर्वक व्यक्तिले हिँड्न पाउने, स्वतन्त्रपूर्वक पेसा चयन गर्न पाउने र रोजगारीको अधिकार भनेको त नेपालको संविधानले नै प्रत्याभूत गरेको छ। तर त्यति हुँदा हुँदै पनि वैदेशिक रोजगार ऐनले पनि यो नयाँ ऐनमा चाहिँ, पुरानो ऐनमा चाहिँ के थियो भने महिला र बालबालिकालाई विदेशमा जान नपाउने थियो। यस्ता विभेदकारी 100वटा भन्दा बढी विभेदकारी नीति र महिलालाई हेरिने त्यो जुन किसिमको महिलाप्रति गरिने विभेदकारी नीति थियो, त्यो नीतिको परिवर्तन भएर परिवर्तित अवस्थामा नयाँ वैदेशिक रोजगार ऐन आएको छ, जसको दफा 8मा नै लिङ्गको आधारमा कुनै पनि कामदारलाई विभेद नगर्ने भन्ने हुँदा हुँदै पनि तर व्यवहारमा चाहिँ महिलाहरूलाई विभेद छ र त्यस्तै गरेर 1000 भन्दा बढी महिला गएको कामदार भएको ठाउँमा महिला नै श्रम सहचारी राख्ने भन्ने प्रावधान हुँदा हुँदै पनि आजकै दिनमा पनि एकजना बिचौलियाको पछि 35-40 जना महिलाहरू वैदेशिक रोजगारमा लुकेर छिपेर अनडकुमेन्टेड भएर जानुपर्ने बाध्यात्मक अवस्था छ, जसको परिणाम के हुन्छ भने उहाँहरू चाहिँ राज्यको कुनै पनि मूलधारमा अथवा राज्यको चाहिँ डकुमेन्टेड हुँदैन। अनडकुमेन्टेड भएकै कारणले उहाँहरू समस्यामा पर्यो भने पनि उहाँहरूले राज्यले दिने सेवा सुविधाबाट वञ्चित भएको अवस्था छ। किनभने अहिले यो रिपाट्रिएसनको जुन गाइडलाइनहरू आयो अनि रिइन्टिग्रेसनको जति पनि गाइडलाइन आएको छ, त्यो गाइडलाइनले अनडकुमेन्टेड वर्कर्सहरूलाई चिन्दैन। एन्ड द मेजोरिटी अफ अनडकुमेन्टेड वर्कर्स आर वुमेन। सो यही पनि महिला कामदार र पुरुष कामदारलाई गरिने जुन चाहिँ भेदभावपूर्ण किसिमको जुन डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी प्रोभिजन्सहरू छ, यो विभेदको कारणले गर्दाखेरि निम्त्याएको असमान के अरे अधिकारको असमान वितरण, राइटको अनइक्वल डिस्ट्रिब्युसन भएको कारणले, डिस्क्रिमिनेसन भएको कारणले कन्सिक्वेन्सेसहरू चाहिँ फरेन लेबर माइग्रेसनमा जाने वुमेनहरूले चाहिँ एकदम धेरै समस्याहरू, चुनौतीहरू भोग्नु परेको अवस्था छ। त्यसको लागि अनि अर्को फेरि महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा के रहेको छ भने डिस्पाइट ह्याभिङ अल दिस हर्डल्स एन्ड अल दिस च्यालेन्जेस, द कन्ट्रिब्युसन अफ वुमेन हैज नट काउन्टेड यट। महिलाको जुन कन्ट्रिब्युसन छ, महिलाले जुन चाहिँ रेमिटेन्स नेपाल भित्र्याउँछ त्यो चाहिँ अनप्रोडक्टिभ भनेर के अरे राज्यले चाहिँ त्यसलाई काउन्ट गरिरहेको छ। हामी चाहिँ यो स्टेटमेन्टको अगेन्स्टमा छौँ। महिलाले वैदेशिक रोजगारमा संलग्न भएका महिलाले कमाएको जति पनि रेमिटेन्स छ उसले आफ्नो बच्चाको शिक्षामा, आफ्नो बच्चाको स्वास्थ्यमा लगानी गरेको छ। सो नेपालको नागरिक उत्पादन गर्नको लागि वुमेनको कन्ट्रिब्युसन छ, जसलाई चाहिँ गभर्नमेन्टले एक्नोलेज गर्नुपर्छ। यसलाई चाहिँ राज्यले चाहिँ यसको चाहिँ मूल्याङ्कन गर्नुपर्छ भनेर चाहिँ पौरखी नेपालले चाहिँ वकालत गर्दै आएको छ र यो समग्र वैदेशिक रोजगारको चक्रलाई नै हामीले सम्बोधन गर्नुपर्ने कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नेपाल सिडको पार्टी राष्ट्र हो हैन। नेपाल सिडको पक्ष राष्ट्र भएको कारणले सिडको GR 26 मा स्पेशली फोकस्ड अन लेबर माइग्रेसनमा जाने वुमेन माइग्रेन्ट वर्कर्सको इस्यु मेन्सन गरेको छ। अहिले पछिल्लो अवस्थामा पनि अहिलेको यो लास्ट इयरको सिडको जेनरल रेकमेन्डेसनमा पनि वुमेन माइग्रेन्ट वर्कर्सको कन्ट्री अफ डेस्टिनेसन, कन्ट्री अफ ओरिजिन एन्ड इभन कन्ट्री अफ ट्रान्जिटको पनि रोल्स एन्ड रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी छ। त्यसलाई चाहिँ एकदम एक्नोलेज गर्नुपर्छ र सुरक्षित, व्यवस्थित, मर्यादित र फलदायी वैदेशिक रोजगार महिलाको गर्नको लागि चाहिँ यो समग्र मल्टी अप्रोचबाट जानुपर्छ। किनभने वैदेशिक रोजगारको कुरा गर्दा, महिलाको कुरा गर्दाखेरि महिला मन्त्रालयको भूमिका रहन्छ र श्रमिकको कुरा गर्दाखेरि श्रम मन्त्रालयको कुरा रहन्छ र आफ्नो पोलिटिकल बााउन्ड्रिज भन्दा बाहिर विदेशमा काम गर्ने भएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि मिनिस्ट्री अफ फरेन अफेयर्सको पनि भूमिका रहन्छ। सो मल्टिपल अप्रोचबाट यो कामदारहरूको लागि चाहिँ सम्बोधन गर्नुपर्छ र त्यसमा चाहिँ देशभित्रै पनि नेपाली महिलाको कुरा गर्दाखेरि देशभित्रै पनि उसको सोशल सेक्युरिटी एन्स्योर हुनुपर्छ अनि तब मात्रै उनीहरू चाहिँ वैदेशिक रोजगार चाहिँ उनीहरूको इन्फर्म चोइस होस् लास्ट डेस्टिनेसन होस् न कि उसको चाहिँ पहिलो रोजाइ होस् त्यसकारणले गर्दाखेरि हामीले अहिले पछिल्लो अवस्थामा चाहिँ यही विषयहरूमा छलफल गर्छौं र वैदेशिक रोजगारबाट फर्केर आएका कामदारहरूलाई ससम्मान नेपालमा नै डिग्निफाइड लाइफ डिल गर्नको लागि र डिसेन्ट वर्कको इन्भाइरोमेन्ट क्रिएट गर्नको लागि गभर्नमेन्टले चाहिँ स्टेप गर्नुपर्छ चाल्नुपर्छ जसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यो असुरक्षित वैदेशिक रोजगार मानव बेचबिखन र मानव तस्कर जस्तो जघन्य जुन चाहिँ अपराध छ त्यो अपराधहरू हुन दिनु हुँदैन त्यसलाई प्रिभेन्ट गर्नको लागि चाहिँ प्रिभेन्टिभ मेजर देशमै के अरे हेर्नुपर्छ र अर्को महत्त्वपूर्ण पक्ष भनेको चाहिँ महिलाको अधिकारलाई जहिले पनि हामीले प्रोटेक्सनिस्ट अप्रोचबाट हाम्रा नीतिहरू निर्माणहरू बनाइएको छ रादर देन राइट बेस्ड अप्रोच सो हामी चाहिँ राइट बेस्ड अप्रोचबाट महिला पनि एउटा स्वतन्त्र नागरिक हो र उसले आफ्नो जीवन विश्लेषण गरेर निर्णय गर्न पाउने वातावरण सृजना गर्नको लागि चाहिँ हाम्रा पोलिसी मेकर्सहरू र प्र्याक्टिसनरहरू र हामी जस्तो सामाजिक संस्था अभियन्ता लगायतका सबैको चाहिँ जिम्मेवारी रहन्छ यसको लागि चाहिँ बहुपक्षीय हस्तक्षेप गर्न आवश्यक छ र यो अवसरको लागि फेरि पनि धन्यवाद
हजुर धन्यवाद मन्जुजी हजुरले भने चाहिँ सुरुमा आफ्नो इन्फर्म डिसिजन हुनु पर्यो भित्रबाट आफूले बुझेर जानु पर्यो त्यसपछि त्यस सँगसँगै तपाईँले भन्नुभएको चाहिँ यो एउटा मल्टी अप्रोच हुनु पर्यो हाम्रो राज्यले तपाईँले ट्रान्जिटदेखि लिएर डेस्टिनेसनसम्म चाहिँ यो सबैको यात्रामा चाहिँ एउटा के अरे जानकारी हुनु पर्यो रादर देन यो के अरे ब्यानहरू रिस्ट्रिक्सन्सहरू भन्दा त्यो वेमा जानु पर्यो भनेर तपाईँले भन्नुभयो तपाईँको विचारहरू राखिदिनु भएकोमा धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद हाम्रो समय मिल्नेमा हामी फेरि पनि एक राउन्ड आउनेछौँ अब हाम्रो नेक्स्ट स्पिकर जानुभन्दा अगाडि हामीसँग हाम्रो डेप्युटी मेयर लक्ष्य गुरुङजी हुनुहुन्छ उहाँलाई म स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु त्यसै गरी हाम्रो आइसिसी को जेनरल सेक्रेटरी उहाँ पनि आइसक्नु भएको छ उहाँलाई पनि म स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु
थ्यांक यू सो मच
हजुर हजुर तपाईहरु दुवैजना हाम्रो लकी 100 हुनुभएछ हैन हाम्रो चाहिँ अहिले यो लाइभमा ठ्याक्क 100 जना छिर्नु भयो जो पनि छिर्न चाहनुहुन्छ तपाईहरु एनआरएनए युके को लाइभ फेसबुकमा लाइभ हामी गइरहेका छौं त्यही भएर त्यहाँ पनि हामीलाई सुन्न सक्नुहुन्छ र अब हामी हाम्रो नेक्स्ट की स्पिकर का जाँदै छौं उहाँ हुनुहुन्छ मनुषी यामी भट्टराईजी उहाँ पोलिटिकल एक्टिभिस्ट हुनुहुन्छ जेन्डर इक्वालिटीको बारेमा र उहाँको मैले एकदमै सुनेको चाहिँ यो न्युजपेपरहरुमा पनि छापिएको थियो साधारण विवाह भयो भनेर अनि मलाई एकदमै त्यो इन्स्पायरिङ लागेको थियो हैन जुन वेमा हामी गइरा छौं तडक भडक बढिरहेको छ त्यो मटेरियलिस्टिक कुरालाई नसोचिकन त्यो मलाई चाहिँ त्यो नै एकदमै ठूलो एउटा एक्जाम्पल जस्तो लागेको थियो हाम्रो मनुष्यजीको र त्यसको साथसाथै अहिले आएको यो धेरै यौन दुर्व्यवहारहरू जस्तै अघि हाम्रो मन्त्रीजीले पनि भन्नुभयो यो स्कुलमा पनि छ घरमा पनि छ यो अब टियु जस्तो युनिभर्सिटीमा पनि रहेछ हैन उहाँले चाहिँ यस्तो हुँदाखेरि कतै भन्ने हामीले यो कुरा राख्ने ठाउँ हुनु पर्यो र त्यो अनुसार जो चाहिँ भिक्टिमाइज हुनु भएको छ र जसले चाहिँ यो नराम्रो काम गरेको छ उलाई चाहिँ हामीले रेस्पोन्सिबल होल्ड गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने खालको कुराहरू पनि उहाँले राख्नु भएको थियो र यस्तै धेरै कुराहरुमा उहाँ आवाज उठाइराख्नुहुन्छ मलाई चाहिँ उहाँलाई अलि सोध्न मन लागेको चाहिँ अहिले युथहरु जस्तै अघि हाम्रो बहिनीहरु कुरा गर्नुभयो अहिले चाहिँ यो युथहरुको चाहिँ र सामाजिकमा मात्र नभएर पोलिटिकलमा पनि हाम्रो इन्भल्भमेन्ट हुनुपर्छ जस्तै अब यो मी टू को इन्भल्भमेन्ट भयो हैन अस्ति भर्खरै बलात्कारी हो त यस्ता यो इन्टरनेशनल मुभमेन्टहरु वुमन मुभमेन्टहरुमा पनि पार्टिसिपेसनहरु बढी देखिएको छ यो तपाईको विचारमा चाहिँ यो गर्दाखेरि परिवर्तन आउँछ कि हाम्रो सरकारले सुनिरहेको छ कि छैन तपाईको विचारमा चाहिँ यसलाई कसरी लिनु भएको छ त्यो पनि एकचोटी भनिदिनुस् न है हस् हाम्रो मनुष्यजीको कनेक्सन अलिकति अघि नै पनि समस्यामा हजुर समस्या थियो मनुष्यजी तपाई म्युटमा हुनुहुन्छ होला
सुन्नु भएको छ
हजुर सुनियो देखियो पनि
सर्वप्रथम जो आयोजक हुनुहुन्छ आयोजक संस्था NRNA UK उहाँहरूलाई यो अवसर दिनुभएकोमा धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद र उपस्थित all the special guests, the chief guest, deputy chief of commission of Nepal to UK, all the members of NRNA UK, all the keynote speakers, all the youth delegates. Good evening, everybody. Kathmanduबाट, I think it's good afternoon there. What an absolute pleasure and honor to be here, especially alongside my favorite person, Kamala Basidi ma'am. And let me also say that I was so delighted and so proud to listen to Chelsea, Akanksha and Rupsma. I was slightly distracted on and off because my little baby has fever. Is getting better but needs my attention, so sorry about that. But as all women, you know, it just shows that how difficult it is being a woman and to be in public space. There's so much of distraction because we have to take care of both our, you know, domestic affairs and also be available in the public sphere. So I've been told that most of the participants here are Nepali, so I'll be speaking mostly in Nepali language, if you don't mind. Moderator ज्यूले भन्नुभए चाहिँ अलिकति बढी चाहिँ म मिटुकै सन्दर्भ नेपालको सन्दर्भमा यो कहाँ गइरहेको छ, यसको सुनवाई भइरहेको छ कि छैन, यसको पृष्ठभूमि के हो, यसबाट समस्याको समाधानहरू आउँछ कि आउँदैन भन्नेमा नै अलिकति बढी केन्द्रित रहन्छु। हुन त अब तपाईहरुले यति मैले एक्सपेक्टै गरेको थिएन कि तपाईहरु यति टाढा रहेर पनि नेपालको समसामयिक विषयमा हैन, कन्टेम्पोरेरी इश्यूजहरुमा, जेन्डर इश्यूजहरुमा कस्तो कानुनहरु बनिरहेको छ, त्यसले कस्तो असर पारिरहेको छ भन्ने कुरामा यति सचेत हुनुहुँदो रहेछ। आई एम सो ह्याप्पी। त्यसकारण मलाई के लाग्छ भने तपाईहरुले यो नेपालमा जब 2015 मा नयाँ संविधान आयो, एउटा लामो इन्टरिम अवस्था हैन, ट्रान्जिसन पिरियड पछि धेरै सेलिब्रेसन थियो, एउटा जुबिलेसन थियो कि नेपालमा चाहिँ अन्य देशहरुको तुलनामा स्पेशली साउथ एशियन कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ हाम्रो कानुनहरु एकदम प्रगतिशील छन्। विशेष गरी महिलाको क्षेत्रमा समावेशिताको सवालहरुमा चाहिँ हामी धेरै अगाडि छौं। LGBTQI को राइट्सहरुको सवालमा पनि हामीले चाहिँ राम्रो कानुनहरु बनाएका छौं भन्ने कुरा भयो। र अहिले यता हेर्दाखेरि हामीले चीफ जस्टिस पनि महिला पाइसकेका छौं, हाम्रो प्रेसिडेन्ट पनि महिला हुनुहुन्छ, स्पिकर पनि हामीले महिला पाएका छौं। सो अहिले व्यापक रूपमा जब जब हामी महिलाका मुद्दाहरू उठाउँछौं अथवा लैंगिक यौनिक मुद्दाहरू उठाउँछौं, आम वृत्तमा आउने सवाल के हो भने तर महिलाहरूले यति उच्च स्थानमा पाइसके त, प्रतिनिधित्व पाइसके त हैन, हाम्रो प्रतिनिधि सभामा पनि समानुपातिक सिटको आवश्यकता अनुरूप महिलाहरूको अरु देशको तुलनामा प्रशस्तै छ त सहभागिता। त्यसकारण यो धेरै ट्याउ नगरौं हैन, धेरै फेमिनिस्ट नहौं, धेरै बाठी पनि नहौं भन्ने खालको चाहिँ आम रूपमा हैन। अब तपाईहरु जस्तो जो अलि प्रोग्रेसिभ हुनुहुन्छ, जो अलि उदार विचारहरु राख्नुहुन्छ, उहाँहरूले त त्यो नभन्नु होला, तर व्यापक रूपमा नेपालका चिया पसलहरुमा हैन र सामाजिक सञ्जालहरुमा हामीले अलिकति हेर्यौं निहाल्यौं भने चाहिँ अलिकति नकारात्मक नै छ हैन। यो किन भइरहेको छ? यो सबभन्दा बढी चाहिँ अलिकति यो मिटुको पृष्ठभूमिमा निर्मला पन्तको जुन बलात्कार र हत्या थियो 2018 मा, त्यसपछि अलिकति बढी सामाजिक सञ्जालमा चाहिँ विशेष गरी नयाँ पुस्ताका युवा महिलाहरू जब अलि बढी सक्रिय हुन थाले, तपाईले अहिले पनि उदाहरण दिनुभयो, बलात्कारी होस् त भन्ने टाइपको जुन अभिव्यक्तिहरू अभियानहरू जसरी आएको छ, यसको विशेषता चाहिँ के हो भने यो नयाँ पुस्ता युवा पुस्ताले अलि बढी सामाजिक सञ्जाल हैन, सोशल मिडिया युज गरेर आएका अभियानहरू हुन्। यो भन्दा अगाडि पनि नेपालमा लामो इतिहास छ महिला आन्दोलनको हैन, तर त महिला आन्दोलन प्राय जसो चाहिँ राजनीतिक आन्दोलनसँगै जोडिएर आएको छ। त्यो राणाको विरुद्धमा हैन, राणा शासनको विरुद्धमा, यो शाह वंशको विरुद्धमा, लोकतन्त्रको पक्षमा विभिन्न पार्टीगत रूपमा चाहिँ महिला आन्दोलनहरूको उठान प्राय जसो हुने गरेको हो। तर यता यो अहिलेको एक दशक यता हैन यो लास्ट डेकेड यता चाहिँ अलिकति बढी चाहिँ नयाँ पुस्ताले यो संसारभरि पनि एउटा नयाँ ट्रेन्ड हो सोसियल मिडिया युज गरेर आइरहेको हुँदाखेरि अलिक विशिष्ट हामीलाई लागेको छ र यो नयाँ प्रकृतिको अभियानहरूले मुभमेन्टहरूले चाहिँ केही प्रतिफल ल्याउँछ कि ल्याउँदैन भन्ने जुन सवाल छ त्यसको मसँग ठ्याक्कै उत्तर त छैन किनकि यो अनगोइङ प्रोसेस हो हैन हामी मेहनत गरिरहेका छौँ विगतका महिला आन्दोलनहरूले के उपलब्धि ल्याए त भन्दाखेरि त्यो ठ्याक्कै श्रृङ्खलामा आउँछ हैन ठ्याक्कै यो आन्दोलनले यो उपलब्धि ल्याए भनेर एउटा म्याथमेटिकल गणितीय खालको उत्तर हुँदैन कि यो चाहिँ श्रृङ्खलाबद्ध रूपमा हुँदै गएको र आउने दिनहरूमा पनि हाम्रा कतिपय मुद्दाहरू संविधानमा अधिकार छन् तर कार्यान्वयनमा छैन हैन कतिपय मुद्दाहरू संविधानमै छैन हैन संविधानमा हाल्नु पर्नेछ कानुन बनाउनु पर्नेछ भने यस्ता थुप्रै थुप्रै प्रकृतिका छन् अब जहाँसम्म सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्टको कुरा छ म त्यसमा बढी भोकल किन छु भने नेपालमा प्राय जसो बलात्कारको बारेमा अलि बढी पछिल्लो यता पत्र पत्रिकाहरू हेर्यौं भने एकदम व्यापक अब स्पेस पाउन थालिएको छ त्यसको एउटा अब हुन त धेरैलाई ग्लुमी पिक्चर लाग्छ हैन धेरैले यो एकदम नेपालको बारेमा चाहिँ नकारात्मक कुराहरू मात्रै गयो हाम्रो मन्त्रीहरूले पनि हैन हाम्रो सरकारका मन्त्रीहरूले सम्म पनि त्यस्तो अभिव्यक्तिहरू दिनुहुन्छ जहाँ चाहिँ अरु संसारमा पनि भइरहेछ नि नेपालमा मात्र भइरहेको र बलात्कार भन्ने टाइपको एकदम महत्त्व नदिने खालको एकदम ट्रिभिलाइज गर्ने हैन समस्यालाई ट्रिभिलाइज गर्ने ढंगबाट अभिव्यक्ति दिइरहेको हुन्छ हाम्रो एमपीहरूले चाहिँ प्राय जसो बलात्कार केसहरू त फेक हुन्छन् नक्कली हुन्छन् भन्ने टाइपको त्यस्तो गैर जिम्मेवारपूर्ण अभिव्यक्तिहरू दिइरहेको हुन्छ तर हाम्रो वास्तविकता के हो भने निर्मला पन्तदेखि अहिले जुन भागीरथी भट्टसम्मको केस हेर्दाखेरि हाम्रा बालिकाहरू हैन गर्ल्स लिटल गर्ल्स 3347 केसेसहरू रेजिस्टर मात्र भएका छन् अनरेजिस्टर्ड त कति छन् बलात्कारका केसेसहरू हैन त्यसमा चाहिँ त्यो अपराध लुकाउनको लागि 17 जनाको हत्या गरिएको छ यो बालिकाको मात्रै म भनिरहेको छु भनेपछि हाम्रो सिचुएसन यस्तो छ कि रेपमै पनि तर मेरो कन्सर्न कहाँ हो भने कोही पनि मान्छे जन्मिने बित्तिकै रेपिस्ट हुँदैन हैन कोही पनि पुरुष अथवा महिला जन्मिने बित्तिकै पितृसत्ताको चाहिँ म भनौं न एउटा एजेन्ट हुँ भनेर त जन्मिँदैन नि हैन त्यसकारण हाम्रा यी राम्रा प्यारा मानिसहरूलाई एकदम क्रूर एकदम हिंस्रक हैन बलात्कारी चाहिँ कसले बनाउँछ त यो समाजमा कसरी उत्पादन हुन्छ भन्ने कुराले चाहिँ हामी सबैलाई चाहिँ डिस्टर्ब गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ आई थिंक all of us should be worried about that how are these violent people rapists harassers created how are they born not in by birth they are not rapists कसरी हुन्छन् त भन्ने कुरामा चाहिँ हामीले अलि बढी खोतल्ने हो भने त्यहाँनिर आएर सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्टको कुरा आउँछ किनकि सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्ट यति व्यापक छ हाम्रो स्कुलदेखि साना बालिका म स्कुलमा पढ्दाखेरि म माथि पनि भएको थियो हैन तर त्यो बेला मलाई यो हरासमेन्ट हो भन्ने पनि थाहा थिएन त्यस्तो कति छन् हैन युनिभर्सिटीसम्म आउँदा जब मेरो बुवा आफै हैन देशको प्रधानमन्त्री हुनुहुन्थ्यो मैले पटक पटक भनेको छु हैन नेपालको सबभन्दा सर्वोच्च ठाउँमा मेरो बुवा पुग्दाखेरि पनि म माथि युनिभर्सिटीमा हरासमेन्ट भएको थियो जबकि म युनियनको इलेक्टेड सेक्रेटरी थिएँ राइट सो म माथि त्यो हुन सक्छ भने क्यान यु इमेजिन एउटा आम त्यसमाथि पनि आम महिला त्यो भित्र पनि दलित मधेस हैन उत्पीडित क्षेत्रका सुदूरपश्चिमका हैन जनजाति महिलाहरू गरिब परिवारका महिलाहरूमाथि झन् कस्तो हुन्छ होला घरभित्र र घर बाहिर भनेपछि त्यहाँ सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्टकै बारेमा हामी सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्ट भनेको के हो यो चाहिँ हरासमेन्ट हो यो हुनु हुँदैन यसको बारेमा बोल्नुपर्छ र बोलिसकेपछि त्यसको कन्सिक्वेन्सेस हुन्छ हैन कसैले हरास गर्यो भने त्यसको परिणाम भोग्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा पनि हामीले त्यसलाई एकदम लापरवाही गर्यौं हल्का फुल्का रूपमा लियौं भने त्यहाँबाट जन्मिन्छन् रेपिस्टहरू हैन त्यसैले त्यो नै हाम्रो जुन सुसुप्त रूपमा रहिआएका भाइलेन्सका घटनाहरू छन् त्यसलाई हामीले ठिक समयमै हामीले ह्यान्डल गरेनौं भने अनि त्यसले भयानक रूप लिन्छ हैन अनि तब गएर चाहिँ बलात्कारका केसहरू यति धेरै घटे भनेर अनि हामी आश्चर्यचकित हुन्छौं तर त्यो भन्दा अगाडि बलात्कार हुनुभन्दा अगाडि विभिन्न जुन स्टेजेसहरू छन् त्यो प्रक्रियामा चाहिँ हामी गम्भीर बन्दैनौं हैन हामी घरभित्र उठेका बहसहरू हैन घरभित्र कतिपय आफन्तजनहरूले गरेका दुर्व्यवहारहरूको बारेमा बोल्दाखेरि चुपचाप बस्नुहुन्छ बोल्नु हुँदैन इज्जतको सवाल छ भनेर जब हामी हस हस गर्छौं नि त्यहाँ हो हाम्रो कन्सर्न हैन त्यसकारण अब यसलाई चाहिँ कुनै व्यक्तिले घर परिवारमा त बुवा आमा सबैजना दाजुभाइ मिलेर यसलाई गर्नुपर्छ, एउटा कल्चर बनाउनुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा हो। तर जहाँसम्म संरचनाको कुराहरू छ, जस्तै युनिभर्सिटीमा एउटा संरचना छ हैन, विभिन्न इन्स्टिट्युसन्सहरू हुन्छन्, पब्लिक प्राइभेट स्फियरमा पनि हुन्छन्, प्राइभेट कर्पोरेट हाउसेसहरूमा पनि हुन्छन् भने हामीले गर्ने सबै खालका कार्यक्षेत्रहरूमा ती संरचनामा हामीले एउटा संरचना मेकानिजम के बनाउनु पर्यो भने महिलाहरूमाथि हुने अथवा कसैमाथि पनि हुने सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्टको बारेमा चाहिँ कम्प्लेन आयो भने त्यहाँ चाहिँ उजुरी दिने र त्यसपछि चाहिँ कन्सिक्वेन्सेस फेस गर्ने, त्यसको आधारमा दण्ड दिने कुनै न कुनै एउटा मेकानिजम हुनु पर्यो। त्यो मेकानिजमको अभावमा हामीले यत्तिकै एकदम सब्जेक्टिभली कसैमा छोडिदियौँ भने त्यो हुँदैन रहेछ। हाम्रो प्र्याक्टिसले के देखायो भने कसैको इन्टेन्सन राम्रो हुँदैमा मात्रै हुँदैन रहेछ, किनकि त्यो व्यक्तिलाई, त्यो वेल इन्टेन्सन व्यक्तिलाई अर्को कसैले रिप्लेस गर्यो भने जसको इन्टेन्सन राम्रो नहुन सक्छ, फेरि हामी जस्ताको तस्तै ठाउँमा आउँछौँ हैन। सो वी कान्ट लिभ इट टु सब्जेक्टिभ फ्याक्टर्स, वी हेभ टु मेक दिज इन्स्टिट्युसनल मेकानिजम्स जहाँ चाहिँ सेक्सुअल हरासमेन्टको हामीले चाहिँ कम्प्लेन गर्न सक्छौँ र त्यसको दण्ड भोग्न चाहिँ बाध्य बनाउन सक्छौँ। म आफै पनि जवाहरलाल नेहरू विश्वविद्यालयमा पढ्दाखेरि त्यहाँ एकदम स्ट्रङ जिएस क्याश भन्ने एउटा संस्था, विद्यार्थीहरूको युनियन सरकै एकदम इम्पोर्टेन्ट संस्था थियो, जहाँ त्यहाँ फ्याकल्टी र स्टुडेन्टहरूको पनि त्यहाँ रिप्रेजेन्टेसन हुन्थ्यो। त्यसले चाहिँ त्यसका पनि केही कमजोरीहरू थिए, तर सापेक्षित रूपमा त्यसले एउटा राम्रो उदाहरण पेश गरेको थियो। हाम्रो अभियान चाहिँ यता के थियो भने हामीले त्रिभुवन विश्वविद्यालय, जुन नेपालको सबभन्दा पुरानो र ठुलो शैक्षिक इन्स्टिट्युसन हो, त्यहाँ पनि हामीले चाहिँ एउटा मेकानिजम बनाउनुपर्छ, एउटा उदाहरण पेश गर्नुपर्छ भनेर हामीले अलिकति प्रेसर दियौँ र त्यसको केही समय पश्चात, महिना पश्चात चाहिँ भिसीले एउटा कमिटी गठन गरेर त्यो प्रक्रिया अगाडि बढाउनु भयो। तर उहाँको कार्यवधि सकिने बित्तिकै अर्को भनौँ न पदाधिकारी आउने बित्तिकै त्यो अहिले ओझेलमा छ। सो यो तपाईँले भन्नुभएकै जुन क्वेसन थियो नि, यो निरन्तर प्रेसरको कुरा हो, प्रेसर दिइराख्ने कुरा हो कि। एन्ड यो फेटिग भन्ने चिज चाहिँ इट्स भेरी भेरी सिग्निफिकेन्ट इन वुमेन्स मुभमेन्ट। थकान कि गर्दा 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 पहिले पछि यति धेरै बाधा अडचनहरू हुन्छन्, यति धेरै अट्याकहरू हुन्छन् हैन, कि कहिलेकाहीँ थकान हुन्छ कि हामी मात्र बोलेर कहाँ हुन्छ भन्ने पनि लाग्छ। बट नो, जस्ट एज इन दिस प्रोग्राम, यही प्रोग्राम हेर्नुहोस् न, हाम्रो एकदम रिचुअलिस्टिक खालको मात्र वुमेन्स डे सेलिब्रेसन छैन नि। आइ एम सो प्राउड कि यहाँ चाहिँ एकदम 3 जना युथ रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ्स यस्तो पावरफुली बोल्नु भएको छ कि यही छ नि त हाम्रो रे अफ होप, कि हामीले मात्र होइन, 1-2 जना व्यक्तिले मात्र बोलिरहेका छैन, यसको चाहिँ एको संसारभर भइरहेको छ हैन। गौमायाजीले सुन्नु भएको रहेछ, अरू सबैजनाले थाहा पाउनु भएको रहेछ हाम्रो आवाज। सो यो सबै जान्दाखेरि चाहिँ खुसी लाग्छ र यसले पक्कै पनि तपाईँहरूसम्म पुगेको छ र तपाईँहरू मार्फत अरूकोमा पुगेको छ भनेपछि यसले पक्कै न केही परिणाम चाहिँ ल्याउँछ र हामी जस्तै हामी पनि कुनै दिन, हाम्रो पनि आकांक्षा छ एज अ पोलिटिकल एक्टिभिस्ट कि हामी पनि कानुन बनाउने ठाउँमा पुगौँ हैन, हामी पनि संसदमा पुगौँ जहाँ कि यो आवाज उठाउँछौँ। अहिले पनि भइरहेका हाम्रा महिला जो सांसदहरू हुनुहुन्छ र पुरुष सांसदहरू, उहाँलाई पनि हामीले के भनिरहेका छौँ, महिलाको विषय भनेको महिलाले मात्र बोल्ने कुरा होइन, महिलाको विषय भनेको पुरा समाजको विषय हो, पुरै देशको विषय हो। त्यसकारण सबै पुरुष सांसदहरूले पनि बोल्नुपर्छ, हाम्रो पार्टीको नेताहरूले बोल्नुपर्छ। हामीले हाम्रो पार्टीभित्र पनि हामीले चाहिँ भनेका छौँ कि पार्टीभित्र पनि यो मेकानिजम चाहिन्छ जहाँ चाहिँ जातीय विभेद र लैङ्गिक विभेद विरुद्ध चाहिँ हामीले उजुरी दिन पाऊँ यदि भयो भने हैन। सो अल द पार्टी शुड प्र्याक्टिस द्याट, अल द एमपिज शुड टक अबाउट इट। यो चाहिँ महिलाहरूको क्षेत्रमा महिलाले मात्र बोल्ने भनेर चाहिँ यो कदापि नसोचौँ, इसेन्सियलाइज नगरौँ। र हामी जो सबै महिलाहरू छौँ उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ महिला दिवसको सन्दर्भमा मात्र होइन, अन्य राजनीतिक, आर्थिक हैन, जियो पोलिटिक्स, यो सबै विषयमा हामी बोल्न सक्षम छौँ। तपाईँहरू पनि जो कार्यक्रम चलाइराख्नु भएको छ, तपाईँहरू पनि महिला दिवसको कार्यक्रम मात्र होइन, अन्य थुप्रै कार्यक्रमहरू चलाउने एकदम सक्षम हुनुहुन्छ हैन। यति भन्दै म अहिलेको कुरा चाहिँ यहीँ टुङ्गाउँछु। केही प्रश्नहरू आयो भने पक्कै पनि म त्यसको जवाफ दिनेछु। धन्यवाद।
हजुर, धन्यवाद मनिषीजी। हजुरको होपफुली योर सन फिल्स बेटर सुन है। अनि अघि तपाईँले भन्नुभएको जस्तै यो मेकानिजम चाहिँ चाहियो, यो मेकानिक जो भए पनि मेकानिजम एउटा भयो भने चाहिँ त्यो चलिरहेको छ होइन, चालकमा हामी डिपेन्डेन्ट नभएर त्यो चलन प्रविधिहरूमा चाहिँ। अनि अघि फेटिकको कुरा पनि गर्नुभयो। आई थिङ्क यो आजको इभेन्टमा चाहिँ वी गट सो मेनी वन्डरफुल मेन एन्ड वुमेन हियर। आई थिङ्क त्यो एनर्जी नै हुन्छ नि, यु फिल भेरी भेरी एकदम फायर्ड अप के। सो थ्याङ्क यू सो मच। मच हजुरको कुराहरू राखिदिनु भयो अनि फर अल्सो सेयरिङ अबाउट तपाईँको आफ्नो हेरासमेन्टको स्टोरिजहरू होइन र के अरे हाम्रो आज जो पनि आज आउनु भएको छ यदि तपाईँहरूलाई थाहा छैन भने हाम्रो मनिषीजीको चाहिँ डटर अफ नेपाल चाहिँ भोलि सिनेमाप्रेनरमा चाहिँ आउँदैछ यो छोटो आई थिङ्क 30 मिनट्स भन्दा पनि अलिकति छोटो छ होला यो डकुमेन्ट्री हेर्नु होला म चाहिँ एकदम आतुर छ तपाईँहरू पनि हेर्नु है र अब हामीले कुरा गर्यौँ यो डाइरेक्ट रेपको न्युजहरू आउँछ तर त्योभन्दा अगाडिको कुराहरू चाहिँ आउँदैनन् होइन यो घरमा पनि छोरा हो अब छोराले गरिहाल्छ छोरी भएपछि यस्तो गर्ने भन्ने कुरा यो हाम्रो घर स्कुल जतासुकै यो भएर लास्टमा गएर चाहिँ न्युज आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ कसरी भयौँ भनेर हामी छक्क पर्छौँ र अब हामी अर्को कि स्पिकरतर्फ लाँदैछौँ यो कुरालाई अझै बाँध्नको लागि हाम्रो अर्को स्पिकर हुनुहुन्छ मिस भारती सिलवार गिरीजी उहाँ जेन्डर इक्वालिटी एन्ड सोसल इन्क्लुजन एक्सपर्ट हुनुहुन्छ उहाँको पहिला मैले मेरो बुवासँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि उहाँ के अरे रेडियोमा पनि उहाँले इङ्ग्लिस न्युजहरू भन्नुहुन्थ्यो अरे त्यतिखेर उहाँहरूको इन्टरभ्यूहरू सुन्दाखेरि उहाँले चाहिँ गभर्मेन्ट लेभलमा पनि इक्वल प्रोपर्टी राइट होइन रिप्रोडक्टिभ राइट यस्ता र हामी आमाबाट पनि नागरिकता पाउनुपर्छ यस्ता धेरै कुराहरूमा उहाँले आवाज उठाइराख्नुहुन्छ र मलाई सोध्नु मन लागेको चाहिँ अघि हाम्रो मनिषजीले भन्नुभयो होइन उहाँले यति साह्रो कुरा गरिराख्नु भएको छ फेरि घरमा पनि मिलाउनु पर्यो जस्तै अहिलेको हाम्रो युथहरू जस्तै म भनौँ म मेरो घरमा सबैभन्दा पहिलो अब एउटा हायर एजुकेसन पाउन सकेँ मैले तर हामीले चाहिँ के भयो भने हामीले यो पाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ छोराले भन्ने काम पनि गर्नु पायौँ हामीले होइन जस्तै बाहिर गएर बोल्ने काम गर्ने जागिर गर्ने पैसा कमाउने एउटा इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुने हामीले गऱ्यौँ भने सायद हामी छोराहरूमा पो यो चुकेको हौँ कि छोराहरूले चाहिँ छोरीहरूको भनिएको काम जस्तै घरमा हेर्ने या बालबच्चा हेर्ने यी खालको कामहरू चाहिँ किन नगरेका होलान् या त्यो ब्यालेन्स ल्याउनलाई चाहिँ के गर्नुपर्छ होला हजुरको विचारमा भारतीजीले त यो रेडियोदेखि नै यो जेन्डर इनइक्वालिटीहरू फेस गर्दै आउनुभएको हो तपाईँको यसमा के कुराहरू राखिदिनुहोस् न
Thank you very much, Gaumayaji, for inviting me to speak on this important topic. And thank you for raising those critical elements of inequality and discrimination. Namaste to everyone and happy International Women's Day to all women and men who are marching together for achievement of gender equality and empowerment of women. Congratulations to Poonam Gurungji for being the first elected woman president of NRNA UK. You inspire. On this day, I would like to pay tribute to the countless number of women leaders, both visible and more so the invisible ones, who have carried the torch of feminism, sans the language, to achieve gender equality and empowerment of women all over the world. That biology is not destiny, and the movement against biological determinism that says men and women are naturally different because of their biology or bodies and are therefore assigned different roles no longer holds true. In spite of researches and studies that have proved that gender traits of masculinity and femininity are not inherent but learned, and accept that of the biological role of reproduction, there is no social role or not a single behavior that can be attributed to as distinguishing either sex. The ubiquitous ideology of patriarchy has contributed or continued to dominate all state structures and institutions. This year, the International Women's Day coincides with 100 years of women's suffrage rights. The right to vote in the US with the 19th Amendment of the Constitution of the USA. Here in Nepal, Yogmaya Neopani spoke out against the oppression of women through prose and poetry during the Rana rule way back in the 1900s. In spite of the first Women's March 100 years ago, which was about equal rights, equal pay, safe working conditions, and ending exploitation of women, and also the various UN declarations and conventions and commitments made by governments the world over, discrimination against women and girls continue to prevail, whether it be in the northern or the southern hemisphere. The difference is only that of degree and magnitude. In the US, women continue to suffer discrimination in employment, insurance, healthcare, education, criminal justice system, social security, and pensions. In the South, especially under Hinduism, rituals and taboos that govern a woman's and a girl's whole life cycle, especially menstruation, pregnancy, and childbirth, become a heavy burden, which leads them to exclaim, "In my next life, I want to be born a man." This also includes prenatal gender-based sex selection, female infanticide, and preference for sons, all of which set the stage for girls and women to be born into the structural violence from which there is no escape in this life. Every year, can you imagine, between 1.2 to 1.5 million girls never get born. Since 1970, the number of missing females has more than doubled from 61 million to 142.6 million in 2020. The highest number of missing females abound in China and India. In Nepal, we have more women than men, and perhaps this is because a mother was expected to give birth to a son. So she went on giving birth, and after a line of daughters, maybe she begot a son. A classic example in recent times is a systematic violation of women's fundamental rights, for example, in Afghanistan by the Taliban. In the name of culture and religion, women have been forced back into their homes as it is deemed unfit for women to be seen and serve in the public sector. Just a few days ago, as you all know, 3 women journalists in their 20s were murdered by the Taliban in retaliation for daring to defy their so-called preordained roles. I recall my visit to Pakistan in 1993 as a member of the SARC observers team to determine whether the midterm elections were free, fair, impartial, and transparent. I had been assigned to Balochistan, the last frontier of patriarchy and feudalism, a deadly combination, along with another lawyer woman from Bangladesh. The mission took us into the interior from the capital, Quetta, to Sibi, which is 5 hours drive. The district commissioner was visibly alarmed when we called on him and started giving us instructions on our movements and that we were not to go anywhere without security guards. When I protested that we would not welcome any restrictions on our movements or welcome any security guards as we were not the guests of the government, he replied in no uncertain terms that we might be kidnapped. And further to that, he said, women are not to be seen or heard except within the 4 walls of their house. So the Beijing Plus 25 review has demonstrated that gender mainstreaming as a strategy has been successful as more and more governments have adopted gender-sensitive policies, legislation, budgets, and programs. However, social norms and behaviors that are upheld by religion and religious practices have not changed. For example, the sun preference is sanctioned by the Hindu religious text Garud Puran. A family without any issue, it dictates, and most specifically, without a son, shall go to hell. Surely nobody in their right mind would want to go to hell, and therefore women's raison d'etre for living is producing a son and thus acting as an insurance for a birth in heaven. This year's International Women's Day theme is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. While progress has been made owing to the quota system, no country in the world has achieved gender equality. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught us something undeniable. Leadership diversity does make a difference, and the pandemic response in countries led by women has captured the headlines. Yet, research reveals that only 3 countries in the world have 50% or more women in parliament. Globally, 119 countries have never had a woman leader as a head of state or head of government. 119 countries have never had a woman leader. At the current rate of progress, gender parity will not be reached in Parliament before 2063, in ministerial positions before 2077, and in the highest positions of power before 2150. So that is another year gone, another century gone. At a time when technology has revolutionized information and communication and shrunk the world into a global village, it is a blotch on humanity that women and girls still have to bear the brunt of poverty and its attendant repercussions of violence, not just physical, wife battering, abandonment, forced marriages, child marriages, polygamy, sexual harassment, trafficking, prostitution, and unsafe migration, but also mental, threat, abuse, depression, trauma, aloneness, and social and religious violence through denial of their self as dictated by the social and religious order, including rights to citizenship. In Nepal, though today there exists a federal democratic multi-party system, it still operates under the principles of patriarchy. Although the constitution does not make any discrimination on the basis of sex, caste, color, or creed, the legal system perpetuates discriminatory laws that denies justice to women. The rise of fundamentalism is eroding the values of democracy. And it has been scientifically proven that with the decline of democracy, we automatically will have less gender equality and women's rights. Politics, media, and debates, be it in the private or the public spheres, are becoming more inward-looking, exclusive, and are dominated by nationalistic upper class and upper caste men. That means that we not only see a growing anti-democratic atmosphere, but also political reality that is marked by a racist, misogynic, and hatred-filled narrative that brings a certain behavior and language to the table that discriminates, creates fear, and in particular targets women. With the rise of nationalism and populism, progressive parties in crisis tend to push gender equality to the back of their agenda. And conservative parties push so-called feminist women with a nationalist agenda to the front. That is why we need more feminist leaders today to challenge the inequities of power and privilege that exclude women, more so the underprivileged women. In Nepal, we have created an intergenerational feminist forum, which brings feminists and women's rights activists across the spectrum to address systemic challenges, especially the increasing levels of violence perpetrated against women in public life and ending harmful norms which require urgent attention, as do the specific challenges encountered by marginalized women who face multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination. And our experience affirms that caste, class, ethnicity, and religious minorities' oppression may be related to oppression based on sex, gender, and sexuality, but they are not the same. Therefore, the concept of women's empowerment is a concept related to gender equality, but distinct from it. It involves awareness raising, building of self-confidence, expansion of choices, increased access to and control over resources, and actions to transform the structures and institutions which reinforce and perpetuate gender discrimination and inequality. Empowerment comes from within. This requires raising consciousness, reflecting and questioning about unequal gender power relations, the vectors of privilege and oppression that exclude women, and more importantly, marginalized women. When women empower themselves, it helps them to focus on utilizing individual and collective strengths to work towards common goals without coercion or domination. We also need to reach out to people in rural and underdeveloped areas and therefore seize the opportunities of modern technology without neglecting their negative side effects. And of course, It is very important to include men in the movement because gender equality affects both genders. It is about questioning gender roles and power structures operating within patriarchy and not them versus us. It is also highly important to include the young generation in decision making. And I'm so happy we heard today 3 young adolescent girls speak about their viewpoints, their ambitions, their desires, and it was so powerful. So congratulations to all the 3 young speakers, because they are shaping the future of our societies. And that is why we need to listen to their concerns and beliefs. And most of the time, we can actually hear from them. But after listening, we have to work together, hand in hand, and for them, we have to take them seriously, their views on social justice and on rights, their family concepts, their aspirations. Therefore, at a time when technological advances have propelled great discoveries and voyages into the unknown, the time to act is now, before it becomes too late. And I'm delighted to note that Lady Butterworth has committed to expanding financing of children's education in Nepal. They are our future. So let us pledge then today, individually, at least one action in our daily life that we shall heretofore undertake to eliminate discrimination and unequal treatment of the most unprivileged. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bharati, for covering. It almost felt like almost like a history plus a storytelling. I think you beautifully put that. So thank you so much. I think I got more and in-depth information than I was actually expecting. So thank you so much. And I completely agree with you. I think it's a lot about listening, but also acting together. And we weren't sure how having youths on board would be taken by our key speakers. So I'm really happy to hear everyone's positively taken it. So thank you so much. Next, I would like to go on to our final key speaker. Before that, I'd also like to request for our youth speakers or anyone who is participating today, if you've got any questions for our key speakers, please put it down on the chat section. Prasanna ji and Rosina ji will let me know and I can put it forward to our key speakers. आज हाम्रो जो पनि सहभागी हुनु भएको छ, तपाईहरुलाई केही प्रश्नहरु छ, केही कुराहरु राख्नु मन छ हाम्रो की स्पिकर्सलाई भने प्लिज हाम्रो च्याट बक्समा राखिदिनु होला अनि मैले उहाँहरुलाई त्यो कुरा राख्न सक्ने छु. So yes, now as Monisiji said, as she mentioned, she's so happy to be here with her favorite person, on board. I second that similar sentiments. We've got Kamala Basidi, who is a feminist activist, social scientist, poet. I think the list goes on. And I think what I really, really admire about her is her creatively tackling the patriarchy. Whether it was writing the children rhymes, बच्चाहरुको गीतहरु लेखेर हुन्छ कि, or dancing, or and she's worked for I think nearly half a century. We've been talking about centuries, half a century उहाँले उहाँको योगदानहरु छ in various organizations. And अहिलेको recent 1 billion rising देखि लिएर संगत, the feminist network, I think she's got so much going on and she keeps going on, and I think that is in itself so empowering. And Kamalaji, what I wanted to actually focus your attention towards was you often talk about how patriarchy, it's obviously it's not just a war against men, it's not just for the benefit of the women, but actually LGBTQ plus or men, they have something to benefit from patriarchy, and I would love for you to cover on that, please.
So equality Zindabad, the UN Declaration for Human Rights Zindabad, global feminist solidarity Zindabad.
Mm-hmm.
And friends, as a feminist, when I say equality Zindabad, I don't just mean equality between men and women. I mean equality between castes, classes, races, etc. Because all these inequalities have to be fought for equality between men and women. I am most grateful that you invited me from India, because I feel South Asian solidarity is absolutely essential for any country in South Asia to move forward. Without cooperation between our countries, we can't make it. And I'm so happy to tell you that feminists in South Asia have played an amazing role in cross-border networking and cross-border friendships. Friends, before I proceed, I wish to salute all our foremothers and forefathers. Yes, I do recognize the role many decent men have played in fighting against patriarchy all over the world. Any man who believes in equality fights patriarchy, and they have done it, and many of them are doing it. Without the struggles of these foremothers and forefathers, so many women in this webinar would not be sitting here and speaking so powerfully and so beautifully. I also wish to salute the people of Nepal for all the democratic struggles they have waged, for the amazing changes they have brought in Nepal in the last 2 or 3 decades, for the changes in laws against monarchy, against a Hindu Rashtra, for all kinds of genders and their equality, and most of all for the progress of women. You have inspired us in South Asia. You have shown us the way how to go forward. Friends, to have a good constitution and to have good laws is absolutely essential, but not enough. So I choose to challenge our cultures and our religions, about which many of you have spoken. Without challenging patriarchal culture and patriarchal religions, there is no way we can achieve gender equality. And in South Asia, we have made a lot of progress, but friends, you have heard so many statistics already. We have a long way to go. Big things have been done. Small things have to be done. And I, as a feminist, begin with myself, my family, my schools, and my community. Big people have done big things. We have to do small things. For example, in India and Nepal, the menstrual taboos, I mean, they are just so ridiculous. Most modern feminists who call themselves feminists, taking hormones to postpone their menstruation so they can participate in a religious ritual, using the most modern medicine to do the most traditional and the most ridiculous and insulting things. Friends, I would really accept that menstruation is dirty, and because of that, we women are dirty. I would accept it. But bring me one human being, one, who has come to this world without our menstruation. One. Bring me one religious leader who has been born without our dirty menstruation. So it's ridiculous. But these things are going on. My constitution says women and men should get equal property. None of that happens. Globally, women's control over property and economic resources continues to be negligible. Against that, we have started a campaign, Property for Her. And the slogan in Hindi, which most of you will understand, Beti Dil Mein, Beti Will Mein, W-I-L-L, will. Beti Dil Mein, Beti Will Mein.
Yes.
Na दहेज na महंगी शादी, बेटी को देंगे property आधी. So I think we need to do this. Then our customs, particularly I'll talk about Hindu customs. Kanyadan, isn't it against your constitution and mine? And I don't want to ask anyone else. I want to ask the 100 people who are here. How many of us, men and women, got married without Kanyadan? How many did? Kanyadan, are we a thing? Are we an animal? Kanyadan, against the constitution. How many of us who are sitting here have not changed our name after our marriage? Ask yourselves. And if you have, aren't you expecting your daughters to do it? And will your sons also not expect their wives to do it? Look at our language. Your Nepali, my Hindi. What do we call the man we get married to? Pati. And if that's not enough, Pati, Parameshwar. Pati means owner. Does my constitution allow any man in my country to own me? As a free Indian citizen and Nepali citizen, can a man own us? Can't we change the words? And by the way, the word husband is no better in English. If you look at the original meaning of husband, it means controller, manager. The word animal husbandry, that's where it comes from. To domesticate a free being. Can't we use the word life partner, Jeevan Sathi? And why do we tolerate this? Let's move on. Our blessings, in Hindi we say, Sada Suhagan Raho. After 45 years of being a feminist, I suddenly thought, what does this mean, Sada Suhagan Raho? Because husbands do die, because they are not Parameshwars, they are human beings. So what I understood was, Sada Suhagan Raho, the blessing to a woman means, may you die before your husband does. So is this a blessing to a woman? Or the blessing, Dudo Nahao Puto Phalo. May you go on producing sons. Friends, this is our culture. This is influenced by our religions, and these must go. And I can go on naming festivals in Hindu India and in Hindu Nepal. Karwa Chauth, the woman fasting the whole day for her husband. Raksha Bandhan, where independent women who earn, who support their brothers, tie the Rakhi and expect him to protect her. Bhai Tika. How can we call this festival Bhai Tika when it cannot take place without the sister? Isn't it an insult to young women sitting here like Chelsea and Rupsma for us to celebrate Bhai Tika? Isn't it really easy that we call it Behen Bhai Tika? Where the brother puts a tika on the sister and says, sister, I expect you to look after me and love me and protect me. And the sister does the same. Will that not be much more beautiful than this nonsensical patriarchal customs which we keep doing? So I choose to challenge our families. I choose to challenge our cultures and religions. And friend, if we change, everything will change. Just to give you a few examples. If I, as a homemaker, change, my family will change, my children will change, and hopefully my Pati Parmeshwar will also change. If I'm a teacher or a student in Padma Kanya or in Tribhuvan University, if I change, will my institution not change? Human beings change things. Neither laws nor constitutions change us. If I'm a politician and I stop being patriarchal, will politics not change? So friends, we need to do this. And I just want to say that sometimes I have seen that Indian non-residents are much more conservative than we Indians in India. I think this is what non-residents do when they go abroad. They want to be more Indian and more Nepali and more conservative. So I'm requesting the non-resident Nepalis to watch out. We don't want educated Nepalis and Indians to be more conservative, because then people tell us, अरे देखो वो इंग्लैंड में रहती है मगर इतना बड़ा सिंदूर लगाती है. So please don't do this to us. Don't push us back. And friends, as Gomaya is saying, I've been saying for the last 25 years that our fight is not against men and boys. Our fight is against patriarchy. And it is high time that men and boys try to understand that yes, patriarchy gives them power. Patriarchy gives them resources. But patriarchy also dehumanizes them. Patriarchy brutalizes them. As Manushi said, men are not born rapists. They are not born violent. It's not biological. We, meaning patriarchy, makes them that. They are not born battamiz or dabang. Patriarchy makes them that. And friends, the time has come that today boys and men have to change more, because we have been changing for the last 150, 200 years. If men don't change, our young daughters who just spoke before us, they will never marry a man who wants to be Pati Parmeshwar. Finish, that time is gone, tell them. These young women will not marry men who can slap them when they want, who refuse to look after their children. I was actually wondering why Manushi has to go look after her baby. Where is her partner? Why is he not doing it? Isn't it time that our men take equal responsibility for fatherhood? Fatherhood and motherhood have to go together. So friends, I just want to say that without gender equality, we will have unhappy, unequal families. And that is the most painful thing in the life of any human being. Unequal families. And the whole world knows today that without gender equality, no society can progress. No country can progress. So I just feel, let's begin with ourselves. Let's do small things. Let's challenge ourselves. And let there be more sons and daughters with a double name like Manushi's. Look at her, Manushi Yami Bhattarai. She is the only girl in South Asia who I know, after my own daughter and my son, who both have both our names. That is the kind of partnership we are looking for. We are not looking for the partnership where we give birth and our husbands give their names without feeding the child for one day, without bathing the child for one day. So friends, women and men united will never be defeated. I wish every country, including the UK, which also still has a lot of violence against women, still has patriarchy like every other country. I wish on this International Women's Day that our families become equal, loving and just, and our countries become loving and just. And women leaders know what is love, not just what is power. Thank you very much, Bainis. Thank you. I'm saying Bainis because I don't think there's anyone older than me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamalaji. I think maybe Doris and you probably are the Didis of today. So Doris, just to put it out there, Didis means big sister and Boini means young sister. So Kamalaji just referred everyone as young sisters, and I said possibly you both are the elder sisters of today. So thank you. We're as happy and
we gave you some grey hairs.
No, I definitely we are so happy to have people from as young as 13 to we've got the whole package today, and I think the energy is just booming. So I was going to point out to Kamala Ji that actually from the 100 people here, I think Monisi Ji is one of them who has taken her both paternal and maternal surname and taken it forward after the marriage as well. But you beautifully pointed that out. And I think, as you said, it cannot happen just from one's initiative. It takes a partner who is supportive of it, a father who is supportive of it. So I agree with you, but change definitely starts from ourselves. So I'm going to go to our key speaker, Monashi, and start our Q&A just because, we all know, Sun is not doing well. So, we want to free Monashi as soon as we can. But before I do that, I would also like to welcome our ICC General Secretary, Dr. Hemraj Sharmaji. I did invite him earlier, but I suppose there were some errors with the technicality. So, Dr. Hemraj Sharmaji, हजुरलाई स्वागत छ यदि तपाईँ आउनुहुन्छ भने still. मैले त्यसलाई हो भनेर नै समर्थन लिए. So Monashi, तपाईलाई question आएको म actually तपाईलाई पढेर सुनाउँछु. Sorry, there's so many questions that's come through. सबैजना participation लागि questions-हरुको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद. मनुष्यजीले क्वेसन आएको छ हाम्रो लक्ष्य गुरुङज्यूबाट. उहाँको क्वेसन छ, it is said that a lot of developed countries legalize sex business in order to minimize or lessen the sexual harassment and sexual assault. What is your views on it, and what is the current sex law in Nepal?
Thank you so much for the question. Well, I don't really think that, I think is it a she or he? I don't know whoever's asked this question. I think the sex work, legalization or criminalization of sex work is not really to minimize or lessen sexual harassment. I think there's a different logic that goes behind it, and it's a very problematic understanding or logic behind it. In our country, and I think the same with many other countries, sex work is not considered as a profession. It's mostly associated with, morality or social morality, and especially in Nepal, it's a big hush hush thing. So I think I'm not an expert on the legality of it, but I think as far as I know, sex work has been linked with human trafficking in Nepal. So I think the Human Trafficking and Transportation Act, it falls within that. That's how, the police, whenever they pick up or they arrest sex workers, they use certain provisions of this act and connect it with trafficking, human trafficking. So in some cases it works in terms of rescuing women and girls who've been forced into prostitution. But we forget that, especially in urban centers of Nepal, like I'm more familiar with Kathmandu, there are many, many women and members of LGBTQI community who take it up as a profession. So if you criminalize it, what you're doing is, first you are stigmatizing their profession. You're not looking at the background which leads them to choose such a profession. You're straight away criminalizing it. So you're not asking why so many transgender men and women are taking up this profession in Kathmandu especially, and in Nepal. There's so many news where police pick up and harass and beat up members of LGBTQI community, especially who are sex workers. So I think it's I'm all for legalizing this profession, because if you legalize it, then you're going to be worried. You're going to address issues such as sexually transmitted diseases, about their human rights, about the compromised security that they're in their profession. So all these things need to be taken up by law. But if you're straight away just criminalizing it, then you are just running away from all these uncomfortable questions regarding sex work. So that's all I have to say about sex work. But can I also just use this time to say quickly that my partner indeed is very helpful. That my son is not well, so he's seeking more of my attention today. But on other days, I'm quite able to participate in these events normally. And also, can I also just add that which I missed because I didn't prepare a formal presentation and I was speaking mostly in Nepali, and I also got a request to sort of say a few things in English as well. But one point that I really wanted to make was, when I talked about representation, especially in the political sphere, I really want all of us to think, and especially the men who are in power, in our government and in all our political structures and the economy and even the household, that do you really want to redistribute power? We are talking about representation, we're talking about respect and love for women and whatnot on International Women's Day. But are we just doing it out of compulsion? Are we just talking of token representation and token rights? I think what we really need to question is, do you want to redistribute power? And power which is political, which is economic, that means economic resources, which Kamala ma'am very rightly raised, and social capital, cultural power. Do you want to redistribute that, or do you want to retain that exclusivity, that monopoly, and just offer only token representation? So while we're talking about very good provisions in Nepal, where we have 33% representation of women in the parliament, and almost like more than 40% women's presence in the local government. We are proud of that. It came out of a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice that the women's movement did. But is that enough? Are you really want to redistribute that power, is my question. And it starts from our home. So that's all I want to say. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I also want to share with Kamala ma'am and all the others that we've decided not to add a surname to our son. A lot of people were curious. I already have, I carry Yami Bhatrai, and then my partner is a Shrestha. So what's my how do we name our son? So we've decided just to add a last name that does not represent any particular caste. But we haven't thought of a last name yet, but we've decided that, we're not going to add a surname with a caste connotation. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity, especially to Poonam ma'am, NRNA, UK, and all friends from all over the world. Good evening and bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manishji. अनि तपाईले यो representationको कुरा गर्नुभयो, redistributionको कुरा गर्नुभयो हैन. I think it's a question हाम्रो आजको male participants-हरुले लिएर जानुपर्ने question चाहिँ, you know, how do you feel about it, and actually, and how are you going to bring a change भन्ने खालको कुराहरु ल्याउनु भयो. त्यसको लागि thank you. मलाई सोध्नु पनि मन लाग्यो थियो सानो बाबुको चाहिँ के गर्नुहुन्छ भनेर तपाईले त्यो पनि clarify गरिदिनु भयो. अघि हाम्रो कमलाजी mentioned, you know, NRNA बाहिरहरुलाई झरै धेरै educated but conservative, we have more intellectual reasoning behind supporting patriarchy भन्छ. मैले पनि कति साथीहरुलाई सोध्छु किन चाहिँ खुट्टा ढोग्नु पर्ने हो, किन चाहिँ बुढालाई भन्ने खालको कुराहरु गर्छु. अनि I think उहाँले चाहिँ handshake गरेर बिहा गर्नु भएको भने मलाई चाहिँ that always stays as an example. अनि अहिलेको यो तपाईको नामकरण पनि I'm sure, you know, a lot of youths will take it as like, wow, I didn't think of that and that was possible भनेर. So keep inspiring us, Manishji. हजुरको समयको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद. हजुरको पार्टनर, हजुरको छोरा सबैलाई एकदमै हाम्रो सुस्वास्थ्यको कामना है. हस् त.
So much.
Manishji, thank you.
Now, bye.
Thank you for attending today.
Right, so as of our next Q&A मा चाहिँ हाम्रो I just want to read out some comments-हरु है. हाम्रो speakers-हरुलाई एकदमै उहाँहरु आजको attendees-हरु एकदमै inspired हुनु भएको छ, एकदम impressive कुराहरु सुनियो, एकदमै कहिले नसोचेको कुराहरु, things that we never thought about, even coming from a lot of senior uncles and aunties. So I think, you know, it's going really well today. So next question हाम्रो भारती जिल्ला आएको छ. अघि हामीले कुरा पनि के गरेको थियो, उहाँले आफ्नो कुरामा के राख्नु भएको थियो भने marginalized, जुन अब हाम्रो दलित भनिन्छौँ हामीले हैन, उहाँहरुलाई कति केसेसहरुमा अब रेप भएको छ तर रेपिस्टलाई नै बिहा गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने खालको त्यस्तो खालको यो भित्र कम्युनिटीको लेभलमा पनि त्यो खालको चेतना नभएको हो कि त्यस्तो खालको इन्सिडेन्टहरु पनि भइराख्छ. र भारतीजीलाई चाहिँ यो क्वेशन आएको छ. सेनानी एससी, उहाँ IFW को president हुनुहुन्छ श्रीलङ्काबाट. सेनानीजी हजुरलाई पनि welcome. The question is, what are the key things we should advise for women in South Asia to overcome of women underprivileged and be stronger भनेर भन्नु भएको छ है. यो चाहिँ हाम्रो भारतीजीलाई यो प्रश्न चाहिँ.
Thank you very much, Senaniji, for that very quick question. What I think is that economic is key. You know, because it allows women to walk out of abusive relationships and stop their oppression or even suppression. But then again, economic empowerment is not adequate. You know, within that word empowerment, it contains the word power. And therefore it is important that marginalized women, and in fact, all women, identify those forms of power and the sources of power that privilege some, that exclude others, and marginalize them. And that power, which comes from patriarchy, which is upheld by religion. And that is what we need to question instead of being submissive. And you know, violence is a tool of patriarchy to suppress and oppress women into submission. So therefore, that power that is exuded through religion, for example, Kamlaji talked of menstrual seclusion. You know, in Garud Puran, again, which is read when there is bereavement in the family, the Garud Puran says, and I'll say this in Nepali, Rajasolla bhayeko pahilo dina mahila chandalni hunche, dosro dina brahmaghati hunche, tesro dina dhobini hunche, र चौथो दिन नुहाई धुवाइकन चोखो हुन्छ. So what it essentially is talking about is the purity and impurity. Women are impure and men are pure. No matter what they do, what character they have, no matter if they are destructive, men are always supreme. That is why recognizing those forms of power, you know, power with, power to, power within, because all of us have that power. And it is more important for marginalized women to recognize that power, because that power allows them to influence the direction of change. And for that, there has to be collective action across South Asia. Kamalaji talked about it a while ago, that there has to be solidarity. And to attain that solidarity, I think we women activists and feminists need to be kinder to each other, need to be more compassionate, not judgmental, and also become aware of our own unconscious bias. Because all of us do carry those unconscious biases, and we demonstrate that, through our actions, through our words, through our language, that excludes some, and we might become the very oppressors that we are fighting against. And therefore, once we are able to identify those sources of power, privilege, unconscious bias, we are more able to form solidarity without being judgmental. And that is really very important, I think, especially when we are talking about strengthening and empowering marginalized women. Thank you. You are muted, Gomaiji.
Thank you so much, Bhartiji. Sorry about that. I think हजुरले अघि भन्नुभएको जस्तो एउटा युनिजन एउटा वुमेनले अर्को वुमेनलाई सपोर्ट गर्नुपर्छ अनि तपाईले हाम्रो सेनानी जी हुनुहुन्छ. Just the fact that Senanji, you are here with us from joining from Sri Lanka, I think that in itself speaks a lot. So thank you so much for putting that question out. अनि भारतीजीले यति सारा राम्ररी भनिदिनु भयो त्यो मेन्स्ट्रुएसनको बारेमा हैन जुन कुराहरु पहिलेदेखि लेखिएको छ तर त्यो कुरालाई हामीले मैले यो पहिले सुनेको थिइनँ नसुनेको भए पनि तर प्र्याक्टिसमा त भइरहेको छ नि है त्यही भएर त्यो कुरा राख्दिनु भयो त्यसको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद. अब हाम्रो नेक्स्ट क्वेशन म राख्न गइरहेको छु. Actually I think that is for one of our bear with me. हाम्रो एकदमै राम्रो कमेन्ट्सहरु आएको छ. हाम्रो डाक्टर पौडेलजी देखि लिएर हाम्रो मिलीजी, राधाजी, इन्दिराजी सबैजनालाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद. संगीताजीलाई, चन्द्रजी सबैजनालाई तपाईहरुको यस्तो इन्करेजिङ कुराहरु पढ्न पाउँदा सुन्न पाउँदा हामीलाई पनि काम गर्ने मान्छेलाई पनि अझै जागर आउँछ. आम स्योर हाम्रो आजको एक्टिभिस्टहरुलाई पनि उत्तिकै जोश जागर आउँछ. So the next question is for Lady Butterworth. So this is for you, Doris. So Senani has said, it's an honor to know you, as I do live in UK at the moment. Oh, right, I've established that now. As I live in Western, what is the support we could encourage women in Asia as women around the world? So Doris, if you're here, that question is addressed for you. I'm not sure why आउनुहुन्छ या आउनुहुँदैन. I think अघि उहाँको अलिकति technical difficultiesहरु पनि आएको थियो. I will move on to the next question. Next question रहेको छ हाम्रो Kamalaji. This question is for you. So I just want to establish that you are here with me. Right. Okay. So the question is, what is the basic steps we should advise when women are facing gender-based violence during COVID-19 period, especially for the women in South Asian region? There's so much hurt during the past year. We know there could be support that we could address in here, but what kind of support is in the South Asian region?
I think first step we have to do is to ask who is doing the violence. Always saying women are violated, but let's change the statement. Men are doing the violence. So my first question will be, what can we do to the men that they stop doing this violence? In my country, every 70 minutes, 70, a woman is killed. Every 20 minutes, a woman is raped. Who is doing it? These are not people from another country coming to raid us. These are our own citizens, our own children. As Manushi said, they are children, they are men coming from our families. So I think the first question is to say, what can we do to these men? How do we train them? How do we ask them to behave themselves? And just during COVID-19, the first country to report that domestic violence is increasing was France. And then country after country in Europe said domestic violence was increasing. Why? Because men are frustrated. They don't know what to do with themselves, sitting at home all the time. Men have only one job, that is to feed bring money. And during COVID, many of them could not bring money. There were no more breadwinners, so completely frustrated. Secondly, so many of them are out every evening, either drinking somewhere or playing carom board in Nepal outside, or watching football. Thousands and thousands of them are doing it, and now they are stuck at home. And at home, there is inequality. At home, there has never been love. So it's not that COVID has made them violent. No. COVID has just become a mirror to these men. If they were violent already, they are doing violence. But men who were loving, men who wanted to be with their children, were most wonderful during COVID-19. They were grateful that they could spend time with their children. They were grateful that they could help their partners and cook with them and enjoy that partnership finally, which their jobs did not allow them. So I think the first thing is to look at the men, the people who do violence, rather than constantly keep talking about women. What can they do? In our families, in Hindu families, they said, Beti ki shadi karke Ganga nahaye. We've got rid of her. We have got rid of the responsibility of this burden. What can she do? Her family doesn't take her back. The family did not give her economic independence, the self-confidence, the dignity which she needed. And in at least my country in South Asia, we do not have shelters for women which are decent, which are working properly. So, I mean, what we can do is we can help each other. But in patriarchy, women are not allowed to help anybody without the permission of the Pati Parmeshwar. So I think women cannot do very much. It is our societies, the men, communities have to change. Our governments have to create more shelters. So it is something for the society to do and men to do, and for society to see that we do not produce so many rapists, so many men who beat their wives all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamalaji. Now we've got a final question for another key speaker. As Kamalaji said, you know, there's so much homework, there's so much, I think, reflection we need to do at home, you know, within ourselves as well. You know, what are the sort of values that we've been following? Are they relevant now or not? And I think change definitely starts from within ourselves. So, अर्को question हाम्रो मन्जुजीलाई छ. मन्जुजीलाई चाहिँ मेरो आफ्नै युथको वर्गबाट क्वेसन भनौँ. अहिले जस्तो हाम्रो धेरैजना कतिजना अब एउटा बाध्यताले विदेशिनु भएको छ. हामी पनि अहिले विदेशी भूमिबाट नै बोल्दैछौँ. यो हामी विदेशी गर्दा हाम्रो अहिले त पहिलाको जस्तै 10 वर्ष अगाडि जस्तो थियो, अहिलेको हाम्रो सिचुएसन त डिफरेन्ट छ. अहिले हाम्रो अब युकेकै कुरा गरौँ भने यति धेरै अर्गनाइजेसन्सहरू छ हैन. यो हाम्रो जुन यस्तो फसेका छन् हाम्रा दिदीबहिनीहरू यो रोजगारीको नाममा, उहाँहरूलाई हामी यति टाढा यति माइल्स किलोमिटर टाढा भए तापनि हामी युथहरूले जस्तो अब कतिजना अहिले एजुकेटेड युथहरू हुनुहुन्छ, आज पनि हाम्रो साथमा हुनुहुन्छ, कोही यो लमा पढिराख्नु भएको छ, कति ठाउँमा इन्टरनेसनल एजुकेसन लिएकाहरू विदेशमा हामी छौँ. हामीले युथको तर्फबाट चाहिँ कसरी पौरखी नेपालको यो कामहरूलाई या तपाईहरूको यो मिसनहरूलाई चाहिँ हामीले कसरी सपोर्ट गर्न छौँ भनेर म तपाईलाई सोध्न चाहन्छु.
प्रश्नको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद हैन. सबैभन्दा पहिला त अब यो प्लेटफर्म क्रिएट गरिदिनु भयो, यसको लागि एनआरएन को अध्यक्षज्यूलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु. तपाईले के कन्ट्रिब्युट गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ यो डिस्क्रिमिनेसनलाई एलिमेन्ट गर्नको लागि भन्दाखेरि सबैभन्दा पहिला त इम्पावरमेन्टमा काम गर्नुपर्छ वुमेनको इम्पावरमेन्टमा वुमेनको while we are talking about women's empowerment we have to focus on women's economic empowerment वुमेनको इकोनोमिक इम्पावरमेन्ट भएपछि साइड बाई साइड सोशल इम्पावरमेन्ट र पोलिटिकल इम्पावरमेन्ट पनि सँगै आउँदो रहेछ एउटा पाटो त्यो रह्यो and root cause of migration of these women are, like I have already mentioned, about the education of the children. So at the moment we are supporting the education to the children of migrants. We are supporting children of returning migrants, children of potential migrants, and children of current migrants. जो वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जानुहुन्छ उहाँहरूले उहाँहरूको एउटा सपना छ कि म अनपढ भएर मेरो म चाहिँ एकदम नै पढ्न नपाएको कारणले मेरो एजुकेसनमा एक्सेस नभएको कारणले मेरो जीवन नर्क बन्यो म आफ्नो भावी पिढीलाई चाहिँ मेरो जस्तो जीवन चाहिँ लिड गर्न नपरोस् भन्ने उद्देश्यको साथ मलाई थाहा छ थुप्रै इन्युमरेबल च्यालेन्जेसहरू छ यो ड्युरिङ द माइग्रेटरी प्रोसेस having despite having lots of challenges I'm migrating for the education of my children. So social security को साथ साथै children को education मा हामीले सपोर्ट गर्न सक्यो भने पनि यो अहिले जति पनि यो च्यालेन्जेसहरू छ त्यसलाई अलिकति भने पनि हामीले सपोर्ट गर्न सक्छौं कि यो जुन चाहिँ अब यो जुन चुनौती छ अथवा जुन चाहिँ यो समस्या छ त्यो समस्यालाई न्यूनीकरण गर्नमा चाहिँ हामीले अलिकति भए पनि सपोर्ट गर्न सक्छौं कि जस्तो लागेछ अहिले हामीले पौरखी नेपालले चाइल्ड एजुकेसन फन्डबाट 65 चिल्ड्रेनहरुलाई एजुकेसन दिइरहेको अवस्था छ हैन अब यो यसले पनि कम्तिमा पनि 65 वटा चिल्ड्रेनको जीवनमा अलिकति भए पनि परिवर्तन ल्याउन सक्छ भन्ने हाम्रो आशा चाहिँ छ हजुर थ्यांक यू
हजुर धन्यवाद हजुर तपाईले भन्नुभएको छ यो एजुकेसन भनेको चाहिँ तपाईले के भन्नुभयो नि आफूले त्यस्तो दुःख पाए पनि आफ्नो छोराछोरीले नपाओस् भन्ने म डोल्पामा जाँदा पनि दाइहरु त्यहाँ हामीले खच्चरमा सामानहरु लानु पर्थ्यो अनि पोर्टर दाइले चाहिँ अब एउटा दाइले चाहिँ ए छोराछोरीलाई पढाएर के गर्नु छ र छोरीहरुलाई पढाएर भन्ने खालको अनि दाइले चाहिँ एउटा अर्को दाइले चाहिँ हामी त खच्चर भयो छोराछोरीलाई त खच्चर बनाउनु भएन नि भन्ने खालको कुरा गर्नुभयो पढाउनु पर्यो नि भन्ने हैन जस्तै हामी एकदमै लकी भयो हाम्रो धेरै जना यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ म अब मेरो बाबा गोर्खा लाउरे हुनुहुन्थ्यो बाजे हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यसरी यहाँ आएर म पढ्न पाएँ हामीले पढ्न पाएर आफ्नो लागि मात्र नभएर तपाईले भन्नुहोस् चाहिँ एकजना बच्चालाई मात्रै पढाउन सके पनि तपाईले 65 जनालाई पढाउनु भएको रहेछ होपफुली यो नम्बर चाहिँ 650 भन्ने 6000 कति भन्ने सुन्न पाओस् हजुरलाई एकदमै शुभकामना छ अब भने हामी हाम्रो चीफ गेस्ट तर्फ लाग्न चाहन्छौं आज हाम्रो पार्टिसिपेन्टहरु सबैजनाले यति ध्यान दिएर सुनिदिनु भयो यस्तो पार्टिसिपेन्ट गर्नुभयो सबैजनाले की स्पिकरहरु बोल्दाखेरि टाउको हल्लाएर आज एकदमै राम्रो एक्सरसाइज भयो होला सबैजनाको है घाँटी हल्लिरहेको देखिरहेको थिएँ मैले हाम्रो चीफ गेस्ट रोशन खनालजी उहाँ डीसीएम एम्बेसी अफ नेपाल हाम्रो युके को उहाँलाई युके मा पनि स्वागत छ र यो कार्यक्रममा केही आफ्नो भनाइ राखिदिनु हुन म अनुरोध गर्दैछु
Thank you very much, Gaumayaji. You did very well in moderating. Thank you very much, and we are very proud to listen you. Chair of the event, Mrs. Poonam Gurung, President of NRNA, distinguished guest, Honorable MP of Basingstoke, distinguished Lady Doris Butterworth, President of the Women's Council, distinguished Ms. Kamala Basidi, very renowned feminist activist and social scientist of India, distinguished Ms. Bharati Silwalgiri, gender equality and social inclusion expert, distinguished Mrs. Manju Gurung, strategic advisor of Pauraki, Nepal, all the distinguished and very prominent youth speakers, Rusna, Chelsea, and Akanksha Gurung, all the guests present today, a very good afternoon and namaste from my side. I have distinct honor and pleasure to speak in this August gathering of very renowned women activists and experts who have contributed a lot for promotion and protection of women rights. It was a real pleasure to listen to all of you. I would like to express my sincere thanks to NRNA UK for coordinating this wonderful event. At the outset, I would like to extend my best wishes to all the wonderful ladies on the occasion of 111th International Women's Day on behalf of the Embassy of Nepal and on my own. Feminism is not making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives strength. I like this quote from G.D. Anderson. Choose to challenge is perfect theme, which will certainly prove the capability of women. Only if you challenge, you can do. In the context of Nepal, the government of Nepal has set the theme this year as Mahilako Suraksha Samman Rozgar Samriddha Nepalko Aadhar. This is very relevant and important theme in the context of Nepal. The government of Nepal has been working continuously to improve the status of women in Nepal. Women's rights have been guaranteed in Constitution, representation of women in parliament, political parties, and other organs of the government. Government have been stated in Constitution. Nepal is party to various international conventions and treaties related to women's rights. Reservation have been provisioned in all the bodies of the government and even in private sector. Nepalese women have come a long way since the practice of Sati Pratha to this level. We have women president, there were women speaker of the parliament and chief justice. Due to these statutory provisions, women's participation in Nepal is encouraging in local levels. They have nominated and elected in executive and legislative bodies under this federal system. However, these are really not enough to improve the status of women in Nepal. I have very well listened to all the distinguished speakers. Indeed, there are challenges and gaps between the legal provisions and practice. Manju Gurungji spoke about problems of women in migration. Of course, there are so many problems. Also, men are facing these challenges while working in Gulf countries. So this comes out of poverty and lack of education and the situation of countries' economic development. And Bharati Silvaji covered lots of things on women's rights. And of course, very renowned and Mr. Yasin has mentioned about so many social taboos that we have to break and what that is hindering women's rights, especially in our region. Reservation and legal provisions only do not protect women's rights. So I would like to echo our previous key speakers that girls should get equal opportunities in the family and society since her birth, especially the opportunity to education and emotional, moral, and social support since her birth. When girls are not empowered from the ground level, reservation will not guarantee the quality of qualified women. If they are not empowered in the early age, their ability and leadership will be questioned. The biggest challenge now I see is to prove their capability by the women who have got the opportunity to lead. The women need to be empowered economically, educationally, socially, and emotionally from the very beginning in their upbringing. As a working women in bureaucracy, I have faced various such things that are taught to us to challenge every time and prove that you are no less than any male colleague. As such, male are seen as a leader by birth and women need to prove herself in every stage. I believe that with the wonderful performances of the women of this generation and empowerment of the girls from the early age, women of the coming generation will no longer need to advocate for their rights and they will have respectful treatment in the society. Now I can feel that when we were in the age of these young speakers that we listened just now, they are very vocal, what we were not in our age. So I am very much hopeful in our generation we will not have to advocate like now. So let's choose to challenge, break the stereotypes, and break the status quo. To conclude, I would like to thank you, NRNA, for this program. I again extend my best wishes of 111th International Women's Day to all the ladies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roshanji, and you've definitely proven yourself. Hopefully, हाम्रो अबको युथहरूलाई चाहिँ आफूलाई त्यसरी छोरीहरूले यो आफूलाई प्रुभ गर्न नपरोस् भन्ने तपाईको भनाइ थियो। त्यसको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। And definitely हामी जुन उहाँहरूको उमेरमा त्यति सारो आवाज, त्यति सारो इको हामीमा थिएन जुन उहाँहरूमा छ, which is obviously very very positive and a sign that we are heading towards the right direction. अब भने हामी कार्यक्रमको अन्त्यतिर आइसकेका छौं। अब म हाम्रो रोजिना प्रधानजीलाई, हाम्रो उहाँ NRNA UK को वुमेन भाइस प्रेसिडेन्ट हुनुहुन्छ, रोजिना प्रधान राईजीलाई आफ्नो के भनाइ राख्दिन अनुरोध गर्दछु।
धन्यवाद गौमाया गुरुङज्यू, program moderator, for wonderful moderation and nice introduction on me with sweet words. Respected Chair, NRNA UK President Punam Gurungju, NRNA UK Women Coordinator Prasuna Kadelju, Chief Guest DMC Nepal Rajdutabas Roshan Khanalju, special guest, key speakers, youth speakers, all guests and medias. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I feel immense pleasure to wish better world for all, especially the women and girls of this current world, on the auspicious occasion of Happy International Women's Day. And I am extremely delighted to join and celebrate the activism and transformative power of women and girls. We are witnessing that significantly changes can be brought when women are in power or get opportunities. In recent years, women, especially youth, are in upfront on transformative social equality, human rights, narrowing down gender bias, and many more aspects, including green environment movements. Let's celebrate achievement of women powers on these occasions. However, this is still lack of access on policy making, opportunity of leadership for women. We still find there are women facing inequality, violence, bias, discrimination, suppressed their right to live with peace and dignity around the world. We are all at pivotal moment for women's rights. Power is at the heart of the matter. Therefore, the International Women has chosen theme for this year, Choose to Challenge, as a woman in leadership, achieving an equal future in COVID-19 world. We all do believe from challenge come changes. Therefore, let's choose challenge to end violence. Let's choose challenge to force gender equal world. Let's choose challenge to raise awareness against bias. Let's choose challenge to live with peace and dignity. Let's choose challenge to create an inclusive world. Finally, let us work together for fostering collective women power and transformational leadership, as I always believe, together always brings success. गौमाया बहिनी, हजुरको परमिसन हुन्छ भने म जति पनि गाउँ घरबाट भिलेजबाट हेरिरहनु भएको मेरो आमा बुबा दिदी बहिनीहरुको लागि, जसले इंग्लिश बुझ्नु न उहाँहरुको लागि म थोरै नेपालीमा पनि थोरै धन्यवाद। कार्यक्रमकी सभापति गैर आवासीय नेपाली संघ यूके की अध्यक्ष पूनम गुरुङज्यू, प्रमुख अतिथि नेपाल दूतावास लन्डन की उपप्रमुख रोशन खनालज्यू, अन्य अतिथि तथा प्यानलिस्ट ज्यूहरू, कार्यक्रममा सहभागी बेलायत स्थित नेपाली समुदायका प्रतिनिधि ज्यूहरू, गैर आवश्यक नेपाली सङ्घ अभियानका अग्रज तथा सञ्चारकर्मीज्यूहरू एवं हामीसँग भर्चुअल माध्यमबाट जोडिनुभएका समग्र महानुभावहरू, आज यहाँ बोल्दै गर्दा आफूलाई त मैले बहुतै भाग्यमानी महसुस गरिरहेकी छु। म जस्ता महिला जो आफै सक्षम छौं, आत्मनिर्भर छौं र यसरी महिलाको विषयमा आफ्ना धारणा राखिरहेका छौं। तर यहाँ बोलिरहँदा म नेपालको कुना कन्दारामा महिलाको बारेमा यसो सम्झन्छु। उनीहरूको अवस्था आज पनि उस्तै छ, जीवनशैली उस्तै छ। महिला सुरक्षाको अवस्था दयनीय छ। छोरीहरू आफ्नै घरमा सुरक्षित छैनन्। दुर्व्यवहार, एसिड आक्रमण, बलात्कार, हत्या लगायतका घटनाले मन अमिलो बनाउँछ। चुनौतीलाई रोज भन्ने यसपालिको जुन नारा छ, पक्कै पनि चुनौती स्वीकार्ने समय आएको छ। चुनौती महिलाको सुरक्षाको लागि, चुनौती आत्मनिर्भरताको लागि, स्वरोजगार सक्षम र सशक्त महिला उत्थानको लागि, हिंसा दुर्व्यवहार अन्त्यको लागि। जस्ता सुकै चुनौतीको सामना गर्दै हामी महिलाहरू एकजुट र एक आवाज बनौं। महिला दिवसमा मात्र सीमित छ, यसलाई अब व्यवहारमा पनि लागू गर्नुपर्ने बेला भएको छ। अन्त्यमा गैर आवश्यक नेपाली सङ्घ युके को आयोजनामा बेलायत स्थित नेपाली सामाजिक सङ्घ संस्था प्रतिनिधिहरूको भेला, काउन्सिल बैठक पनि भनेर भनिन्छ, यही मार्च 14 आइतबार बिहान 11 बजे भर्चुअल माध्यमबाट हुँदैछ। NRNA को सङ्घ संस्था समन्वय विभागको संयोजनमा हरेक वर्ष आयोजना हुने यो बैठकले संस्थाको गतिविधिहरू लेखा जनसमक्ष ल्याउँदै आएको छ। बैठक संस्थागत विषयमा मात्रै केन्द्रित नभएर परोपकारी कामको लागि समेत फलदायी हुने अपेक्षा गरेको छ। सहभागिता हजुरहरू सबैलाई सहभागिताको लागि पनि म यही फोरमबाट अपिल गर्दछु। धन्यवाद। चुज फर च्यालेन्ज। थ्याङ्क यू। धन्यवाद।
हजुर, धन्यवाद रोजनाजी। आशा छ हाम्रो काउन्सिलमा पनि प्रोग्राममा पनि यस्तै खालको सहभागिता हुनेछ। अब हाम्रो अन्तिममा छोटकरीमा म हाम्रो दीपक श्रेष्ठजीलाई, उहाँले सेन्ससको धमाधम कामहरू गरिराख्नु भएको छ। युथहरूलाई इन्फर्म गर्ने हो कि बाजे बजेलाई कसरी रिच आउट गर्ने भन्ने कुरामा उहाँ एकदमै लागि परिराख्नु भएको छ। उहाँलाई पनि म तयारी हुन म रिक्वेस्ट गर्न चाहन्छु। त्यसै गरी आइसिसी मेम्बर भक्त गुरुङजी र आइसिसी मेम्बर रामशरण सिमकराजी, उहाँहरूको पार्टिसिपेसन, उहाँहरूको कमेन्ट्सको लागि पनि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। दीपकजी, तपाईँ तयार हुनुहुन्छ भने तपाईँको केही कुराहरू राखिदिनुहोस् न यो जनगणनाको बारेमा।
धन्यवाद गौमयाजी, तपाईँको प्रस्तुतिको लागि चाहिँ यहाँको अब हामी बुद्ध जयन्तीदेखि लिएर हामी सँगै काम गरिरहेको छौँ, खुसी लागेछ आज हजुरलाई देख्न पाएँ। सर्वप्रथम यस कार्यक्रमका सभापति आदरणीय दिदी NRNA का अध्यक्ष पुरम गुरुङज्यू, प्रमुख अतिथि DCM रोशन खनालज्यू, नेपालबाट पाल्नुभएका स्पिकरको रूपमा पाल्नुभएका सम्पूर्ण आदरणीय दिदीहरू लगायत यस जुममा उपस्थित सबैलाई मेरो चाहिँ हार्दिक नमस्कार। म दीपक श्रेष्ठ, इङ्ल्यान्ड राज्य समन्वय परिषद गैर आवश्यक नेपाली सङ्घ युके को अध्यक्ष। आज यो फोरममा मलाई चाहिँ सेन्ससको बारेमा 2 शब्द बोल्ने मौका दिनुभएकोमा अध्यक्ष लगायत यस कार्यक्रमका संयोजक प्रसन्न कडेलज्यूलाई म हार्दिक धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। सेन्सस हामी आफैमा कति महत्त्वपूर्ण छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ यहाँहरू सबैलाई अवगत नै छ। NRNA ले अहिले इङ्ल्यान्ड राज्यको हकमा हामीलाई जिम्मेवारी दिए अनुसार हामीले निरन्तर 5 हप्तादेखि यसमा चाहिँ दिनरात काम गरिरहेको यहाँहरूलाई जानकारी नै छ र लाग्छ हाम्रो यो प्रयासले बेलायतमा बस्ने सबै सङ्घ संस्था लगायत संस्था लगायत चाहिँ सम्पूर्ण महानुभावहरूलाई चाहिँ यसको बारेमा चाहिँ जानकारी भएको मैले महसुस गरेको छु र यो फोरममा चाहिँ हामीलाई चाहिँ सेन्ससको बारेमा हजुरहरूले हजुरहरूको संस्थाले र व्यक्तिगत रूपमा चाहिँ प्रचार प्रसार गरिदिनु भएको छ र अझै पनि यसलाई चाहिँ तीव्र रूपमा चाहिँ लिएर जानुको लागि अनुरोध गर्न चाहन्छु। इङ्ल्यान्ड राज्य समितिले अहिलेसम्म चाहिँ धेरै व्यापक प्रचार प्रसार गरेको छ। इभन नेपालका हस्तीहरू वरिष्ठ कलाकार हरिवंश आचार्य, मदन कृष्ण श्रेष्ठ दाई लगायत नायकहरूले चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ व्यापक प्रचार प्रसारको रूपमा चाहिँ अभियानमा जोडिएको छ भने विभिन्न रेडियो मार्फत पनि यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले प्रचार प्रसारमा तीव्र रूपमा लगेका छौँ। प्रचार प्रसार गर्ने अभियान हामीले चाहिँ चलाइसकेको अवस्थामा यहाँ कतिपय सङ्घ संस्थाहरूका अग्रजहरूले यो अभियानमा चाहिँ जोडिसक्नु भएको छ भने कोही जोडिन बाँकी हुनुहुन्छ भने यो अभियानलाई तपाईहरूले हरेक नेपालीहरूको यो आवश्यकताको विषय हो भनेर सम्झेर तपाईहरूको संस्थाबाट चाहिँ यो अभियानलाई चाहिँ अगाडि बढाइदिनु हुन म अनुरोध गर्न चाहन्छु। र यसै फोरमबाट चाहिँ म के भन्न चाहन्छु भने हामीले प्रचार प्रसार व्यापक गरिए तापनि अब यसलाई चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ फर्म भर्ने भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ एकदमै यो च्यालेन्जको कुरा भएको हुनाले तपाईहरूकै संस्थाबाट तपाईहरूकै सदस्यहरूलाई आफ्ना अग्रजहरूलाई सहयोग गरेर यो अभियानमा सफल बनाइदिनु हुन म विनम्र अनुरोध गर्दछु। र साथै हामी इङ्ल्यान्ड राज्य समन्वय परिषदले भोलिदेखि अहिले 21 जनाको चाहिँ हेल्प डेस्कको मार्फत सेन्ससको बारेमा चाहिँ विशेष जानकारी दिने उद्देश्यले यो हेल्प डेस्क हामीले सञ्चालन गरेका छौँ र भोलिदेखि यो चाहिँ मिडियामा आउनेछ। तपाईहरूले पनि कसैलाई सेन्ससको फर्म भर्न अथवा भराउन चाहनुहुन्छ अथवा कसैले चाहिँ बुझ्नु भएको छैन भने त्यो नम्बरमा सम्पर्क गराइदिनु हुन म अनुरोध गर्दै मलाई यो समय दिनुभएकोमा अध्यक्ष पुनम गुरुङज्यू र संयोजक प्रश्न कडेल लगायत सम्पूर्णलाई चाहिँ हार्दिक नमस्कार दिन चाहन्छु। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद दिपकजी र हजुरको यो हेल्प डेस्क सफल रहोस्, शुभकामना तपाईँलाई। र मलाई लाग्छ भोलि युथको लागि भनेर स्पेसिफिक इभेन्ट हुँदैछ, त्यसको लागि पनि हजुरलाई एकदम शुभकामना छ। अब भने हाम्रो भोट अफ थ्याङ्क्सको लागि हामी कार्यक्रमको अन्तिमतिर आइसक्यौँ। मलाई हाम्रो प्रेसिडेन्टजीलाई भन्नुभन्दा अगाडि हाम्रो जितजी जसले हाम्रो आजको लाइभ प्रोग्रामलाई हाम्रो स्मुथली रन गर्नको लागि हेल्प गर्नुभयो, त्यसै गरी हाम्रो फदिन्द्रजी हुनुहुन्छ र ह्यारीजीलाई पनि यो हाम्रो आजको कार्यक्रमको पोस्टर बनाइदिनु भएकोमा सम्पूर्ण अनि सरस्वतीजी सबैजना यो ब्याकग्राउन्डमा काम गरिराख्नु भएको दिदी बहिनीहरूलाई पनि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। आहिलाजी पनि देखेँ मैले, उहाँ पनि भोलि आबद्ध हुनुहुन्छ कार्यक्रममा। यति भन्दै अब हाम्रो भोट अफ थ्याङ्क्स हाम्रो प्रेसिडेन्ट NRNA UK सबैजनाले भनिसक्नुभयो, उदाहरणीय कुरा हो यो, हाम्रो फिमेल प्रेसिडेन्ट पहिलोचोटि युकेमा हुने भन्ने सबैजनाले कमेन्टहरू पनि गर्नुभयो। अब म हाम्रो प्रेसिडेन्टजीलाई केही शब्दहरू राखिदिनु हुन अनुरोध गर्दछु।
Thank you गौमया बहिनी, एन्ड नमस्ते, गुड आफ्टरनुन कहाँ कहाँ हुनुहुन्छ हजुरहरू होइन सबैजनालाई। फर्स्ट हाम्रो आजको यस प्रोग्राममा पालिदिनु भएका रेस्पेक्टेड हाम्रो चिफ गेस्ट DCM रोशन खनालजी and all the our patron council. I can see our patron Kumar Fagami and Surya Gurung, and ICC members Ramsaran Simkharaji, Bhakta Gurung, Sushila Rai, and our past women coordinators Sangeeta Marhatta, Babi Lama, Leela Devi, and all our respected honorable ICC members, our respected ICC General Secretary Dr. Hemraj Sharma, and I can also see our Deputy Mayor Raksha Gurung, and all our youth speakers, today's youth speakers, and especially our key speakers, our respected Kamala Didi, Bharati Didi, Manju Didi, and Manushi Ji. It was lovely to have you all, and of course not forgetting our beautiful ladies and all the powerful ladies who have made the program successful today. Without your participation, the program wouldn't have been as successful as we are celebrating the Women's Day today. So, and all the beautiful people who are watching us on the live, and our journalists as well who are taking note of today's program. And of course, not forgetting my team and all the NRNA, our advisors and all the senior people and our ICC task force chair, Chandra Gurung, and all the respected people whom, even though I forget their name, I have a high respect and welcome to our program. I know the program has been gone a bit longer, but it is not that during the program, it's absolutely, I have been going through, is like, it's been an amazing, it's better than I expected, having all the respected speakers along from India, Nepal, from United Kingdom as well, and all our respected Lady Doris, who is the president of Women's Council, and our mayor, MP Maria Miller, and all. And first of all, it's I just want to say happy 111th Women's Day. And I can also see all the respected gents who are supporting us, supporting their families, supporting their daughters, sisters, wives, moms, like so many gentlemen who are. So I have a high respect to all the decent gentlemen over here and making us to move forward today in this 21st century. If I like on today's date, today I'm just like very much honored to celebrate Women's Day, like being a first president of NRNA UK. It was not like easy to come in the president level, you know, like if I have to share myself. So it's my tenure is sparked when I started it, my tenure is just sparked. Welcome to new challenges, progress, and the hope of a new era, one that pushes the needle towards true equality and inclusively. But it is not much like easy as you see from outer world. It's something different to come in the movement or in the leadership. But having said all these words, I'm enjoying my everyday like challenges and the work I'm in more passionate in. As a Nepali woman who calls the UK home myself, I feel so inspired to use my experiences and voice to shout for and advocate women empowerment, gender equality, and inclusivity in Nepal, the UK, and all women around the world. For me, today, the International Women's Day presents a much needed opportunity to come together, to laugh, to meet new people, of course, and all while being mindfully aware and considerate of how we can work together to create an empowering, equal, and inclusive global community. As this year's theme is choose to challenge, I feel like from choosing the challenges, we will change it. We'll change the situation. We can change the topics that we discussed today. Like many things we shared so many hardship, happiness together, but we can change after choosing the challenges. So unless you don't accept the challenges, we cannot change anything. Like as our speakers have highlighted so many important topics that I wanted to highlight as well. So I don't want to go and repeat all those topics again and again, but I want to echo them. And then I personally agree, and I know you all will agree with me and with all the voices that our respected key speakers have said about equality, about the political situations where we are facing in our, either you live over here or in the country as well. And you know, like it's absolutely lovely to hear everything that we women are facing in this modern world at the moment. So here in UK and in my home country of Nepal and in every corner of the world, this is the message that I want to circulate, and the theme is circulating as well. Just choose to challenge. All around the world, amid this pandemic, in this pandemic as well, girl and women are facing excruciatingly mental health struggles as well, poverty and suffering unimaginable domestic violences, trauma in the one place where we call safe, So in support with ICC Women Forum, we NCC UK Forum and NCC UK team, we are working to promote the education and women empowerment in Nepal as well, understanding feminist theory through fieldwork, skill transfers, programs and workshops, organizing national and international events on women empowerment. So having said these words, again, I would like to thank to all the participants, all the representatives from different organizations who have given their valuable time today, our honorable members and all the respected guests, ladies. And also, I would also like to thank who are like people who are working behind the scene in technician, our General Secretary Farindra Bhattrai, Dr. Sunil Shah, Harry Gurung, Jeet Ranabar, and my team, and all the not forgetting my beautiful ladies, Rojina, Prashuna, Saraswati, Kopila, Shakuntala, Ranjita, Tara, and all the beautiful ladies who have helped me to come to this point and speak in front of you. And today, I would also like to share many things. I wanted to share many things, but it has, as I said already, it has been already touched all the topics. I just want to say our special thanks to Gomaya Baini, who has run this program very beautifully, and to our coordinator, women coordinator, Prashuna Kadal, for working so hard behind the scene. So यति भन्दै अब मैले धेरै भनिराख्ने भन्दा पनि अबको वुमेन्स डे हैन, अबको वुमेन्स डे नेक्स्ट इयर अगेन हामी फेरि मनाउँछौँ. नट जस्ट वेट, आज हामी यसरी वुमेन्स डे भनेर मात्र वेट नगरौँ, लेट्स मेक एभ्री डे वुमेन्स डे के हामीले हैन सेलिब्रेट गर्नको लागि. सो म एकदमै थ्याङ्कफुल हजुरहरूको सपोर्ट, स्पेशली कमला दिदी, भारती दिदी, मन्जुजी, मनुष्यजी, उहाँहरूको जुन मेसेजहरू छ डेफिनेटली हामीलाई त इन्स्पायर गरेकै छ हाम्रो एजको लागि. तर आज जति युथ पार्टिसिपेन्ट थियो उहाँहरूको कुराहरू अहिलेसम्म मेरो 13 इयर्सको छोरी या चाहिँ त हजुरहरूको कुराहरू सुनेर बसेपछि आई नो यता उहाँ उसको जस्तो एजको छोरीहरूले हजुरहरूको पाथ फलो गर्ने भनेको यु आर मेकिङ अ चेन्ज आफ्टर एक्सेप्टिङ द च्यालेन्जेस हैन हजुरहरूको पालेको. सो वी जस्ट होल्ड ह्यान्ड टुगेदर हजुरहरू सँगसँगै भन्न चाहन्छु. सो thank you everybody for accepting our invitation and taking part in today's International Women's Day. अहिले still COVID एकदमै के अरे स्टिल सिभियर नै छ, स्टिल एकदमै साह्रै छ बेलायतमा भनौँ अहिले संसारमा. सो हजुरहरू स्टिल सेफ बसिदिनुहोस् अनि अरूलाई पनि सेफ राख्नमा मद्दत गर्नुहोस्. सेन्ससको अघि दीपक भाइले भनिसक्नु भएको छ, उहाँ इङ्ल्यान्ड राज्य परिषदको अध्यक्ष हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँले सेन्ससको कुरा भनिसक्नुभयो. हाम्रो अपकमिङ काउन्सिल बैठक 14 मार्चमा हुँदैछ, रोजिनाले भनिसक्नु भएको छ, भाइस प्रेसिडेन्ट बहिनी. एन्ड देन यो आउने ट्युजडे 9 मार्चमा चाहिँ हामीले हाम्रो एम्बेसडर लोकदर्शन रेग्मीज्यू र हाम्रो डिसिएम रोशन खनाल म्याडमलाई चाहिँ NRNA UK को तर्फबाट उहाँलाई चाहिँ हामी 9 मार्च 6 o'clock इभिनिङमा चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई हामी वेलकम गर्दैछौँ. सो हजुरहरू पनि त्यो सो दिनमा जुम मार्फत चाहिँ जोइन हुनको लागि म अनुरोध गर्दै म कार्यक्रम पनि यही समापन भएको चाहिँ म हजुरहरूलाई भन्न चाहन्छु र stay safe everybody. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste.